That is a lot of toys, everybody. Holy crap. Let's take a look at some of the figures that are going to be available for this giveaway. We have Ram Man Deluxe from the Master Universe Origins figures. We have Hordak, Ahsoka Tano, and Grogu. Black Series 501st Legion's Clone Trooper, Game of Thrones Mega Constructs, Battle Beyond the Wall, Wonder Woman Farland designed version. We have Rhinox. This is from the Kingdom. War for Cybertron, Aang, Omega Sentinel, Weapon X, Shadowcat from the Age of Apocalypse series. We've got these crazy Figma figures. We have Reaper, and we have Widowmaker, Antok Merrick from the Black series, Imperial Stormtrooper, the Return of the Jedi Skiff, prototype version of Boba Fett's armor. This is amazing. We've got the Book of Boba Fett, Fennec Shand, Clone Wars, ARC Trooper Echo, retro style packaging, George Lucas, Stormtrooper armor, a chance to win Battlecat as well. Then as promised, if we reach 16,000 subscribers, I will unlock all of these guys. We have Zodak here. We've got Lady Slither, the Horde Trooper, Roboto, and Triclops. Amazing. And then, guys, if we happen to reach 16,500 subscribers, we're going to add these figures into the giveaway as well. Camo Khan, Grizzlor, and of course, Wondar. That's right, guys. If we reach 17,000 subscribers by the time the giveaway happens, the Emperor's Throne Room from the Vintage Collection will also unlock, as well as Mafex Psylocke. And you know what? Just for good measure, if we happen to reach a crazy number, and I do mean a crazy number, of 18,000 subscribers, I will be giving away a choice of Serpentor or Mindbender. And if something crazy happens and we actually reach 20,000 subscribers, guys, I will go ahead and give away all three of these guys to one lucky subscriber. Serpentor, Dr. Mindbender, and Master of Disguise Zartan. That's right, everybody. This is crazy, and this is my way of paying it forward to all you guys who have helped me to reach this major milestone. Thank you so much for all the support over the years. You guys are amazing. Gosh, I can't believe I almost forgot the special one-time giveaway of the Ramen Toy Machina Gullwing Special Edition. This is a translucent, one-of-a-kind Gullwing, which will be released only once for the Mega J Retro channel, and this one is transparent. It's very, very cool, and we'll be discussing those during additional live streams. But guys, this will be the one and only chance to get this, so don't forget, you have a chance to get the Machina Gullwing from Ramen Toy during the Mega J Retro 2024 giveaway. There are a couple of rules, guys, and we are going to go through them right now. Number one, you do have to be subscribed to the Mega J Retro channel or the MJR Collector channel. That will give you your ballot to enter. And number two, you do have to like the video and, of course, leave a comment in the description. Remember, guys, you have to like this particular video, 15,000 sub giveaway. Just head down, add a comment with hashtag MJR Collector Giveaway 2024. Let's go. And this will give you one ballot to enter into the giveaway on January 20th, 2024. That's right, guys. That is the hashtag. That is the only way you could be eligible to get in on all of the available giveaways. That's a huge, huge detail, guys. Don't forget to do that. And finally, number three, share this video with as many people as possible, giving them the chance to be able to get in on this incredible video. Guys, this is in celebration of reaching 15,000 subscribers here on the Mega J Retro channel and 7,000 subscribers on the MGR Collector channel. The draw for the giveaway will be held on January 20th, 2024 by the Wheel of Elimination. This will be held during my live stream at 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time or 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Full rules and details will be in the description below, and a list of all the prizes that are available. I'm going to have the full set of rules of how to enter this giveaway in the description below. But first and foremost, you have to head over to mftoys.ca Instagram page and give them a like and a follow, because that's where you're going to find out about all the latest releases that MF Toys gets early. Because, guys, we are the first ones in Canada to get this, and that doesn't mean that the United States is left out. You guys in the United States can order too. There's a little bit extra shipping, but heck, if you want to be one of the first ones to get this as soon as it drops, Mike has an entire shipment ready to go on January 1st. So guys, definitely bookmark mftoys.ca, make your account, and become a premium member, a VIP member right away, so that you will not miss out on getting one of these day one drop. So Mike, let's definitely get this giveaway. We will be giving away all four of these turtles. This is going to be freaking great. Wave one is going to be done. They're giving you guys a chance to win one full set of this wave. So it's going to be Leonardo, Man at Arms, Mutated He-Man, and of course Donatello. This is a great set to have, and literally right when they drop. So they're going to be doing a draw pretty much the same time I'm doing it. It's going to be happening on the same day, January 20th, for my channel. So I'm going to be giving away all those prizes as I did in this video, which I'm going to link up here. You can see all the rules for that video. But for this particular contest, what we want to do is we want to help out MF Toys Canada, mftoys.ca. So we'd like to get as many people liking and following them on their Instagram account. So definitely head over to MF Toys Canada on Instagram. I'll have the link in the description below where you guys can follow them. Give them a like and follow, and like the picture where they have all of those turtles, the actual Turtles of Grayskull, being displayed. Make sure to like and put a hashtag MFToys Motu TMNT giveaway 2024. Definitely put that in the picture, which I'll flash it right here. You can see the one that you need to put this hashtag on. Give them a like on that particular picture as well. Help spread the message about this, and you will be entered with one ballot for the particular contest for MF Toys Canada. Mike's going to try and be there, but I don't think he doesn't do the 1 a.m. too much. But definitely we're going to be giving these away, and one lucky winner will be able to walk away with these. It's a separate draw from my giveaway, but this is in thanks to this community who's been so great. I want to give a huge shout out to all my Patreon and channel member supporters. Thank you so much, everybody. It's thanks to your support that this channel continues to grow, and I really could not have done this without you. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for your support, guys. It really means a lot and really helps the channel to keep growing. Hey guys, it's Jay. Welcome back to the channel. Happy New Year, everybody. Wow, that was a long and drowned out message, but you know what? I am so excited about this brand new giveaway we're doing in celebration of 15,000 subscribers here on the Mega J Retro channel, and of course 7,000 subscribers on the MJR Collector channel. This is a huge thanks to all you guys who have helped support the channel over the years. Thank you so much, guys. If it wasn't for you, we would not be making this huge milestone. And there are a lot of great prizes to be given away. And if you do follow those rules, you can easily be in the running to win some of those great prizes. And of course, as is the nature of this particular stream, the more people who support the channel, the more unlocks, the more stretch goals, if you will be opened up, and you could possibly be in the running for an incredible, huge set of G.I. Joe classified giveaways. I mean, if we reach that goal of 18,500 subscribers, I mean, the sky's the limit, guys. You could possibly be in the running to get Dr. Mindbender, Serpentor, and Master of Disguise Zartan. That's a crazy bundle. All of those figures, if you're keeping track, because some of us don't bother, but all those figures have actually doubled or tripled in price over the last year and a half. Of course, I don't collect for value. Shout out to Tidarium Hanger of Mike over at Tidarium Hanger for that. You know, we have a great relationship with Mike. He's always a great friend of the channel, and you know, he says some things that are kind of have a shelf life, if you will. But obviously, we all collect for our own reasons. And in my particular case, I do not collect for value, which is a quote that Mike's had in the past. However, I do quantify that, and we can talk about that a little later in the stream. But it's something that I don't really take too seriously. But today's topic is somewhat it sort of relates to the idea of quantifying value, quantifying what you as a collector see as value. Right? There's a whole what is it that you perceive as value? What is it that you perceive as a collector as something worth supporting? That seems to be the biggest issue plaguing which is prevalent in today's market. As a matter of fact, as we know, there have been a lot of things which are happening in the toy industry, and it seems like the power of the toy industry seems to be waning in these last couple of years. This last year, because up until 2023. It seemed like the toy industry could do no wrong. It was just going up, 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 up. And it seemed as if everything was just all, good. But then the 2023 came around and it seemed as if some things the cracks seem to be showing in the armor. So I want to talk about how crowdsourcing, right? Crowdsourcing has become somewhat of a boon, somewhat of a major boon for the toy industry. And I have to question, why is that? Why did the billion-dollar companies, why did these corporations decide out of seemingly nowhere that all of a sudden crowdsourced, projects, crowd-funded projects are viable in 2020? Because that's actually where the impetus of this kind of started. As a matter of fact, it actually started well further back than that. And we're going to get into the history of how corporations started crowdfunding. But I can't do this alone because this is a big topic. It's an actual massive topic. And I think one opinion is not going to really cover this. I think we need the help of a lot of people who, have opinions on this as well. Because I myself, again, I'm not. I'm seriously not centering out Tigerian Hanger here, but I myself do not collect for value, but there's a perceived notion of collections for value. So I want to find out how many of us are actually involved with that, and I want your participation in this as well. Everybody, let me know in the comment section below. Have you actually, and the chat right now, have you guys actually crowdsourced anything? Have you supported any of these projects by billion-dollar companies, or are you kind of very, very much turned off by that kind of practice? To help me along with this conversation, I have a couple of good friends to help me with this discussion. Please help me welcome to the channel. Huge supporter of the channel, of course. He's been on the channel multiple times. Good friend of the channel. Please help me welcome good friend Brick Something. What's going on, Brick? How are you doing tonight?
Hey Jay. Hey Mega Jay. Hey chat. Hi folks. Great to be back. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, brother. I was gonna say
Happy
Happy New Year, my friend.
2024.
It is crazy, right? It's we're getting to the big 2025. We're getting to another quarter century. What the hell is going on? Another quarter,
No,
quarter.
it's
I was like, you and I were there. You and I were there at 2000. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
we were there at 2000,
I was there
right? And
before
now we
2000.
were there at 2010. We're at 2020, and now we're getting to 2025. Look at this gray beard just keeps growing. You know what I mean? It's just not. It's not getting
Yeah,
any shorter. It's
it's
not
there.
getting any shorter.
It's there.
How was your New Year break? How did everything go?
It was good. It was relatively mellow. Hung out with Oz and them for a little bit over
Nice,
there, and then
nice.
kind of sat in the home and heard we have multiple fireworks happening. Right over there, we get some San Francisco. Here we
Yep.
get local ones.
Yep.
In the distance, we can't quite see Oakland's, but yeah, there's kind of like three big fireworks shows around us, and then the neighbors like to kind of just throw them out in the streets too. So it was wild.
I decided for better or for worse to not interrupt your stream, because I figured I would crash it again and just basically blank everybody out for 2024.
If you have not seen that, you should go check out Oz's channel for the Happy New Year stream. At the end, there's two of them, because the first one, the first one ended with Jay talking, okay, guys, everything is like, oh,
yeah, the whole stream just died. It was so class, and I felt so bad because I could see everybody. We were still there, and everyone was like, "What happened? Jay didn't leave," and I'm like, "Oh crap!" Right? You should have seen the chaos in the green room. We were all losing our minds. We were like, "What do we do? What do we do?" And
hilarious.
Oz had to spin up another stream, and everybody had to figure out that they were. It was chaos. It was absolute chaos. But it was a lot of fun. Glad to hear that the family's doing well, Brick.
Yeah, we're good, man.
Everything
healthy. Everyone's healthy now,
right?
Oh man, I think I caught what you had, and was like coughing up a lung and like
you lost your
all
voice,
of that.
Right? You lost your voice because I lost
for a good couple weeks. Whew.
Right? Yeah, it was not pleasant. It was not pleasant. But we're back on the feet. We're in 2024, and we have someone else joining us tonight. Another wonderful guest, a good friend of the channel, has been here multiple times, and of course is involved with a company who's actually started and got their kickstart. Let's just say it that way. Got their kickstart on crowdsource, initiatives. Please help us welcome Adam from Highly Articulated. What's going on, Adam? How you doing tonight?
Hey, you made it,
Jay. You're giving away more toys than I own. That's a bigger collection of giveaway toys.
Chances. If you read the rules, it's gonna be like 3 draws for the first half, and if any of the bigger prizes get included, people get.
Tell us all the rules again.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. People were leaving en masse. I could see the. I was like, oh, it's dropping. Everybody's.
No, that's crazy. That's a crazy giveaway.
It's, you know what, we as a community here, I've been helped by so many people in this community. You know, it really has, and I'm not exaggerating. As you saw in the rules, all of my Patreon and channel member supporters get an extra ballot, because honestly, you know, this has been a rough year for me. Like my biggest clients have not come back, and the ones that I had some really good relationships with, they cut back on their productions. So the reality is that, you know, as a graphic designer, that's rough. If you're not continuously working, you know, things you know, just it's not easy to keep that up. And as a matter of fact, later on, probably in my next couple of videos, I'm going to be you're going to see some sponsorship segments, but they're going to be for my company, right? Because you know, this community, there might be somebody out here who needs a website, who needs video services, who needs, you know, a billboard ad or any sort of graphic design services. And now I just have to put myself out there and say, hey, I'm available. If you guys need help, if you guys need you know, consulting, if you need something, video services, whatever, right? I'm here, and we can work together, you know. Whatever your budget is, we'll make it work. The reality is that, you know, it's been a rough year, and it continues to be a rough year for many of us, including a lot of people at Hasbro this year are going to be on the lines for work.
That's right.
The toy industry is the strength of the toy industry for the last 3 years has finally shown the cracks, and it makes you wonder what really happened. Hasbro, and we all saw it. As a matter of fact, I have a clip I want to show you guys. I was in fun stuff. I was in Buffalo yesterday. And Niagara Falls and Buffalo. I was in Buffalo, and I visited Ollie's. I visited TJ Maxx for the first time ever. I've never been in TJ Maxx. I visited Topps Superstore, which is a legendary superstore here in Ontario, because we always get the WTV Buffalo 29 commercials, and we always would see Topps commercials at Topps, and we were always like, what are Topps? What is Topps? They had all these great sales for like groceries, and we're like, we got to see these. Like, I've never heard of Topps, so I finally went to a Topps grocery store. Hilarious. I don't know if you guys in the East Coast, you know, if you guys have anything like Topps, but or is it the West Coast? Anyway, West Coast. So I have a couple of videos which I think are going to be interesting for everyone to see, because as we know, Hasbro has literally been dumping, or maybe not Hasbro, but a lot of Hasbro products have been liquidated to places like Ollie's and places like TJ Maxx and places like Marshalls and Ross's. You know, whether it's G.I. Joe Classified, whether it's Starting Lineup, whether it's Dungeons and Dragons, whether it's Star Wars, it is absolutely appalling how many products have shown up at these locations. And I have actual video proof that it's not a joke. These things are en masse. Like, it is scary. Those are early indicators, right? Tiderium Hangers talked about it. Mike over there has talked about it multiple times. There are a whole bunch of channels who literally made their career off of crapping on this type of thing. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people are just like, Hasbro's dead, Hasbro's in trouble, Hasbro's dead, right? And that has been a big discussion. Have you guys been to an Ollie's? Have you guys been to any sort of liquidation, like Big Lots or anything like that? Like, what's your experience over there, Rick?
So I've never been to an Ollie's because we don't have them here on the West Coast. I have been to you mentioned TJ Maxx and Ross, and those for folks like, I don't know how they compare it actually to an Ollie's, but it's got everything, right? It's any store that's getting rid of stuff is there. And then Big Lots I used to be Pick and Save back in the day, and I got a lot of my toys as a kid from there, and got some Jason the Wheeled Warrior, like just a bunch of cool stuff, super cheap, but that's it. And so I think we've got like DD's I've heard of, but I haven't been to check them out. And so I went to my local Ross's, and I I've gone regularly and in the past and never really saw like the things as toy wise that interested me. Like there were no G.I. Joe Classified, there were no Star Wars Black Series. There was kind of always a smattering of some of the like some McFarlane, but more like I see a lot of My Hero Academia actually. Yes. But then in the last month and a half, a lot more Hasbro stuff, whether it's Power Rangers, some Joes. I haven't seen Oh no, I did see some Black Series, just 2 figures, and I still haven't seen any Mattel stuff. So it's like, I definitely saw it in the last 2 months. So I don't necessarily know, does that mean what that signals per se? Other than I know that stores do need to clear the shelves and all that, but yeah, it's true. I didn't necessarily see a bunch of those particular Hasbro lines in those stores before.
Yeah, and Adam, you and I, we're not from the United States, but we do have Marshalls. I think we have what other smaller stores do we have?
Winners. Is that what it's called?
We have Winners. Yes, we have Winners. Those are the stores. So yeah. Have you noticed any Hasbro products showing up there?
No.
I do.
No, I mean for me, like, so I'm in a a smaller community, and I think by the time the distribution I think most of the distribution for those companies kind of starts on the East Coast, and by the time the truck gets to me, it's like dust bunnies and tumbleweeds, because it'll be like the dregs. You're like, I understand why nobody bought these products. It's not Hasbro stuff, it's not Mattel stuff, or at least anything that I want or care about. It's I think I got a Black Panther there a bunch of years ago. That was like the only, and I bought it because I was like, oh, Marvel Legends at Winners. I was like, it's $8, I'll buy it. But yeah, no, I don't see it that much. When I do travel south of the border, I do try to get to some of those stores. But even then, I think again, it's just location based. I don't typically see great stuff. I picked up a bunch of Bluey stuff at TJ Maxx in Maui, but that was that was all I've seen.
Yeah, I have. So I frequent, as a lot of people know on my MJR Collector channel, I frequent Winners. I frequent what was the other one we just mentioned? We just talked about, there was Winners and there was another one.
Marshalls,
that's right. Winners and Marshalls, those two.
They have the same company, and I think just based on the way the labels and stuff look, I think it's got to be the same parent company as Ross and TJ Maxx.
Yeah, you know what? I tend to believe exactly that as well. I wonder if I have one hanging around here. I thought I did. But anyway, yeah, it's these weird little, very signature labels. You know exactly the ones. As soon as you see it, you're like, oh yeah, that came from Winners. Like, you know exactly where they come from, right? And you're exactly right. I think that they all use the same label machine. It's got these little dots that kind of like when you rip them off, they still stick around. It's just a really weird thing. But I have here in Ontario, for whatever reason, we get a lot of the stuff. I picked up a whole bunch of Marvel Legends there. I picked up a lot of Star Wars there. A whole bunch of Black Series, and yeah, it's just and Power Rangers. Power Rangers, for whatever reason, continue to pop up there regularly. It's kind of crazy how often you find Power Rangers at Marshalls or Winners. They just seem to continually pop up there. It's just absolutely ridiculous. But the fact that these even show up there is not a good sign. All right, that's not. Oh, and Master Universe. I have seen a few Master Universe figures show up there once in a while, but again, it's not a good sign. It is not a good sign that these things are constantly being put on the liquidation shelf. Now, Winners and Marshalls are not exactly liquidation. That's not quite what they are. They're more like discount stores. But when you get to an Ollie's or a Big Lots or these stores that truly are liquidation stores, like we used to have Bargain Heralds here in Canada, and that was pretty much considered well, I don't know. Did you have a Bargain Heralds in Vancouver? No, not really.
No, not. I mean, not that I'm aware of.
Yeah. but Bargain House was definitely an Ontario thing, and that was where you knew that okay, this is definitely on massive clearance, right? I think maybe Byway. No Byway? Okay, these are all like Ontario brands, I guess. But yeah,
none of that stuff I think makes it far enough out. Like by the time they kind of distribute it through the sort of network there, I think it just there's just not enough for everybody. And I think because there's such a high concentrate, like the population for people that don't know Canada, the population of Canada is in Ontario.
come on, don't be like
and then by the time it gets outside of Ontario, there's not much left.
Okay, wait a second. British Columbia is not. I mean, I get it. I get it. Like we have a dense population. 100%.
It's the density, yeah.
But it's all Southern Ontario. You know what I mean? It's Northern Ontario is much like everywhere else, right here.
Yeah, Thunder Bay is probably not getting a ton either. So
no, like like actually, no, you know what? Ironically, Ontario gets the bulk of everything, right?
Yeah.
So they like Thunder Bay has a better chance, unfortunately, than British Columbia.
Oh
right?
yeah,
British Columbia.
Yes.
That's what's really kind of sad. But you know what? Every now and then, you'll get something. But Toys R Us is pretty well distributed. So is a whole bunch of different Walmarts and all that kind of stuff. So the regular stuff at full price is where you're going to get the stuff. But we have nothing like it is in the United States. When I visited yesterday, when I visited Buffalo and Niagara, my little mind was blown because I could not believe.
Curious.
I could not believe what was on the shelves there and just how ridiculous it really ended up being. I'm flashing everybody who's given us some warm welcomes here on the chat. Thank you guys for being here tonight. Once again, please definitely put your name in the hat for the giveaway on the 20th. Really appreciate all you guys being here. Thank you again for all the support over the years. And if you haven't already, please give these two guys a like and a follow. Brick Something and Hardly Articulated. They do wonderful content on toys and of course their favorite Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. You guys should definitely be following both of these guys if you want to be on top of that, because they got Adam in particular has some wonderful little secrets coming along, and you would definitely want to be on top of that with Adam and of course Break Something on all of those things. Definitely give them a like and a follow. Tell them that Jay sent you. Thank you guys again for being here tonight. A lot of people in the chat, thank you guys for being here as well. I will say hi to a bunch of you guys right now really quickly. Old IT Guy, what's going on, my friend? Andrew Davis, Anthony Thomas, Aaron Hardy, Ashman55, good to see you, brother. Dem Wands, Action Figure Atorium, good to see you. Old IT Guy, what's going on, brother? Rodimus Prime, 1982. Nolan is in the house. Always good to see Nolan.
What's up, Nolan?
1975. What's going on, brother? Kenzo's Creations. What's going on, Kenzo? How you doing tonight? Clint Jorgensen. Brick Something. Who's that? Highly Articulated. Who's that? Good to see you guys. Always good to see everybody here. Todd C is from Michigan. Good to see you, brother. I've been to Chicago. Wonderful city. Lord Hoagie. Waldo. Good to see you. How's it going, Waldo? Villasana. What's going
on? Chicago's in Illinois.
I know, but sorry.
It's okay. Sorry, brother. Oh, Michigan. Sorry. See, this is how much I know about the United States. I apologize. Pure Canadian right here. This is obviously
Chicago is lovely. Anytime I'm in Detroit, I always hit up
51 states. I have no idea what I'm talking about. But that's how Canadian I am. Oh, by the way, if anybody travels down Niagara and Buffalo, it's basically Canadian. It's basically Ontario South. Mm-hmm. Every I would say half a mile is a Tim Hortons. I'm not even joking about that. It's ridiculous. It is absolutely freaking ridiculous. Everywhere we went, I could not believe it. No word of a lie. It was like being in Ontario. Every half mile was a Tim Hortons. It was like, this is nuts.
I remember when there was like one, when they opened one Tim Hortons, and people were like, "This place is crazy. Like, how come we only get Dunkin' Donuts?"
Exactly. It's just crazy. And now, like I saw more Tim Hortons there than Dunkin' Donuts. It was just absolutely crazy.
It's a fresh market. It's an untapped market.
It is. And who knew that not having refills on your coffee would actually work? Like that's just bonkers, right? Lord Hoagie's in the house. Chad Stewart is in the house. Anybody else? Paul Morales, good to see you, my friend. Fran Captain America, what's going on, brother? Jabbar Robbins again, good to see you, dude. All About the Villains, how's it going, brother? Always good to see everybody here. Thank you guys again for being here tonight. David Sinelli, how's it going? Sunny, Sundries, nice to good to see you. You guys have seen me make a fool of myself about knowing how many states there are. There are 51 states, right? That's Canada is the 51st state, isn't that the case? Jonathan Chong
No,
is in the
DC is the
house.
51st state.
I'm gonna get
Should
reamed
be.
out. I'm gonna get reamed out for sure. You know what? Once the water starts drying out, you're definitely going to see something. Craze Colonel, good to see you, brother. I've been saying that since I was in high school. Unk, what's going on, my friend? How you doing tonight?
Hey, Unk made it.
Matthew Fielder, what's going on? Cannot afford a $27 figure. Neither can I, which is why Toys R Us is suffering so much. Trust me. And that's $27. Imagine up here, it's $49. Figure that one out. But that's the exchange rate for you. Absolutely bonkers. Resident Obi-Wan, what's going on, brother? How you doing tonight? Found out that the section at Ross and Burlington stores out here in the West Coast didn't include much mainstream Hasbro and Mattel products. Few singles, but no complete waves. I don't think anybody actually found a complete wave. You'll be that would be a miracle if anybody actually finds a complete wave in a Ross or a Burlington. By the way, when I came down there and I saw Burlington, I was like, "What's going on here? This is ridiculous too." Because we used to have Burlington Co-Factory up here, and now it's upgraded down south. That was just
curious. Resident Obi-Wan, where on the West Coast? I'm up here in San Francisco, and I was just spent some time down in LA area, Pasadena, and then a little bit in Orange County, and like it's night and day depending on where you're at. Some places down in LA, I think it's kind of what Adam was alluding to, like depending on the density and the markets, right, and what people are selling, you can be filled with stuff, and then up here, it sort of depends on where you're at.
Absolutely,
a lot less up here than it is down in LA, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I've been hearing people talk about how some stores have a ton of Vipers and some stores have literally zero. So it's that kind of thing, right? Of course, there could be just flippers who were just going to store, but anyway, that's a different story entirely. Todd C. Ross hunting was pretty fun this winter. Well, brother, you seem to be one of the ones who lucked out because there are people who were looking for ages. Clint Jorgensen's in the house. Joe Gonzalez, what's going on, my friend? How you doing tonight? Duab, hola, brother. How are you doing tonight? Good to see you. Let's see, anybody else? Derek Kuto's in the house. What's going on, dude? Sean Forrester, good to see you. Jay Coombs, always good to see you, my friend. Crowdfunding for more elaborate toys, yes. For the toys that could have been arguably sold in stores, I guess that's where we tread the fine line. This is part of what we're going to talk about tonight because there are some dream projects that didn't need to be dreamed up because they should have been in retail stores. It's actually true. Derek Dalzell, what's going on, dude? How you doing tonight? Silver K is in the house. What's going on, Silver K? Smack that. You kind of got short there. All on the floor. Smack that. Okay, there you go. Always can rely on Silver K to deliver the goods. Guys, definitely check out Silver K on Geek the F Out. Wonderful channel. You guys are going to love it, especially if you love retrospectives on Star Wars and all of our favorite, pop culture references, including Stranger Things. You guys will love that channel. Definitely give Silver K and Geek the F Out a like and a follow. Tell them that we sent you. Jonathan Chong's in the house. There was the famous Honest Ed's. That's right. But it's found there in the bottom rock. But I see toys in the Dollarama too, including Bandai, Digimon, and Small for Toys months ago. Now, of course, Honest Ed's is only in Ontario. It was only actually it was only in Toronto. Ed Mervish was who passed away a number of years ago. His famous store, of course, was an Ontario was a Toronto staple. It has since actually been torn down, but they still retain the sign. There's a whole bunch of things that are happening with Honest Ed's, but that store is as a liquidation store, as a rock bottom price store. Yeah, it has gone the way of the dodo. As many wonderful stores like Byway, Simpsons. Simpsons was a department store, sorry, but it is gone now. Did you guys have Simpsons in the US?
The Simpsons. Nope.
That is funny. You had Simpsons, Adam. Come on. You didn't have Simpsons? What the hell?
No, we had Woolco, we had Woolworths, we had Zellers, we had like all the department stores.
Yep, but not Simpsons.
Okay. No. I mean, I remember those. Like as I mentioned to you before, Jay. Like my parents are originally from Ontario. So I used to go back at Christmas or for like summer vacation and like see these stores, and I remember picking stuff up from some of those stores. But yeah, we never had that stuff. We were so late to get a Walmart. I mean, I remember when we got Walmart and I was like, this place is awesome.
Yeah.
And for people, if you're in Canada, like you hear stories about Walmart in the US, they're not the same store. Like Walmart in Canada is basically Target. And then when you go to the US and you go to Walmart, you're like, oh.
I wonder if that's your market. Because I've driven,
it is.
because I've driven through on the East Coast, and Walmart. I was like, oh yeah, this feels like Walmart to me.
Oh, okay,
not exactly. I mean, we do have our superstores, right? But I've noticed,
I slept in a couple parking lots of them. Yeah.
I've noticed though that our superstores are like regular sized Walmarts in the US. Like I've noticed that.
Yeah.
Every Walmart I went to this last trip, every Walmart I went to was a gigantic, like just massive store. And I literally every single time I went to one, I'm like, I pan around. I'm like, yeah, they don't do anything small in the United States. This is freaking huge. And then, of course, every Target is about at least a half size bigger than any of our Walmarts. It honestly, it's just, to me, it just blows my mind every single time.
I know you know this, but just to clarify, I saw that video that you sent going to PowerCon. That Target, you could probably fit about 4 of my Targets in this area in that one. So it really depends on sort of where you're at. And for the record, I'm here in San Francisco, and it's a densely populated area, but we just have less space. So but some of those that you've been to, like when you were showing us that one, I was like, damn, that's like that's like a Texas size one for those of you that are familiar with that. They're pretty damn big.
And that was Niagara. You know what I mean? That was the Niagara, like literally across the border.
Like nation states.
Well, I think it was I think it was a suburb. I think suburbs have bigger land, right? There's a lot more,
Same thing.
right? And that's probably what it was. Star, what's going on? How you doing tonight, my friend? Always good to see you, my friend. Mark Felder, what's going on? I think a lot of it is distribution. Only show up a few stores that go to resell markets. Okay, that's interesting. But for example, Mossman Walmart exclusive, you can't find in a whole state other than stacks of them another, which is weird because when I was to 2 Walmarts and there were at least 7 Mossman in every single Walmart I went to. It was so strange. I literally made a comment saying people are having trouble finding this guy. I don't understand what's going on. So yeah, Matthew, I totally see what you're saying. Sean Forrester, I'm still trying to figure out the negative of crowdfunding. It's not a negative. That's actually not what we're trying to say here. You'll understand where we're going to go with this. Well, where I'm going to go with this, and we're going to find out the opinions of these 2 fine gentlemen here. But my opinion is it necessary? Right? Is crowdfunding for billion-dollar companies? I mean, we're going to get into the whole idea of why crowdfunding was actually created. You know what I mean? Like, there's the whole backstory of crowdfunding is one of altruism. You know what I mean? It's one of actually making necessities happen. Right? Something that artists could use to get them the money that they need to actually get what they wanted to do, because it's hard out there. Does a billion-dollar company really need our money to get something started? Anyway, that's again, I'm just putting it out there, guys. But we will definitely check that out. Thank you, Silver K. Follow Brick Something at this YouTube page right here, guys. Definitely click that link.
Thanks.
Follow Brick Something right away. Of course, thank you so much for putting up highly articulated as well, Silver K. We can always count on Silver K to be there for us. Definitely give both of these fine gentlemen a like and follow. Smacking it here too. Thank you, Silver K. Always great. Matthew, she's always smacking it. Matthew, I think it's a lot. Okay, I read that one actually. Let's see here. Drew Chase, what's going on, guys? Hey, Jay and Adam, and of course Brick.
Hey, what's up, Drew? Drew's an AWOC guy. Drew was at LegionsCon helping at the AWOC table.
Sweet. There you go. Aaron Hardy's in the house. Being a kid in Canada, I was confused by Die Hard 2. I could never figure out why it was snowing in Dallas or why they were pronouncing it like that. It does snow in Dallas occasionally. It has been known to happen. And when it happens, apparently it's a snow day. Everybody stays at home because they don't know how to drive in the snow. I've seen pileups in Dallas during a single snowfall, which we would call a flurry up here in Canada. It's just the worst. We're looking at the news report. We're like, where's the snow? Adam. It's the funniest thing.
Even Vancouver. I was in Vancouver one time and they got like a dump of snow and like everything shut down. People didn't know what to do. They just don't have the infrastructure for it, right? Like When it rains there, no problem. It's like the drainage is perfect, whatever. As soon as your rain takes a physical form where it starts piling up on top of itself and won't drain, it's panic. The SkyTrain shuts down, the buses shut down. You can't move around the city. Wherever you are, you just got to hunker down and hope for the best. You might be at the mall for 3 days because it doesn't but yeah, for us, like, whatever, no big deal. We'll plow it. We got shovels, we got boots.
It is the unknown that you have to deal with, right? Because again, once your tires do a little bit of this, right? Because again, we up here, we're like, oh, okay, and we deal with it. But I imagine that anybody, all of a sudden, they do this, they're like, it just makes it worse, right? If you panic the moment your wheels do a little bit of this, right, a tiny little bit of a shimmer, people literally can lose their minds. I have seen it here in Canada too, but I imagine it's tenfold when you're in a country in a state that very rarely sees any sort of snow. So my heart goes out to you guys. We're laughing with you. We're not laughing at you. Okay, we're laughing with you.
50-50.
Pretty much. Recoverell, I love that Gundam hoodie. There you go, Adam. Adam's got a fan. There we go. RX 78, right? So there we go.
It's a really comfy hoodie too.
Beautiful stuff. Silver K, give us your healthcare, Jay. You don't want our healthcare. Silver K, you don't want our healthcare. Trust me, it comes with a lot of caveats to that healthcare. Honestly, there's a lot of good. And well, you know what the real caveat is? Taxes, and we're not going to get into that here. That's a huge debate on multiple sides. Mothman 46, Jay has to go to 8 Mile. I have been to 8 Mile. Funnily enough, I have driven past it. I have not actually been to 8 Mile, but I have driven past it. So just so you know, yes, I saw it. I'm like, oh, 8 Mile, and I was like, great. We're not stopping there. we're driving right past. So RC, Canada as the U.S. hat. We actually are. We're proud to be that, because you know what? That means we're on top of you guys. So there. Anyway. We're the top. We're not the bottom. Dave Sinelli. Megan J. Bill, 51st State. Yeah, you know what? I opened up the can of worms with that one. Resident Obi-Wan, San Diego, in the house. Good to see you, brother. Always good to see you.
Oh, gotcha.
Johnny Luca, great greetings, folks. Hey, Jay, Brick, Adam, good to see you, Luca. Always good to see Luca in the house. Well-hung banana hammocks. You know what? There's a joke in there somewhere. Sadly, Adam's firmness went out, so he had to wear a hat. This is when I met these guys in the green room, I was laughing at both of them because they were both wearing they were both wearing the beanies, man. I was like, what's going on here? These guys are both freezing their butts off.
No, you know what? I am of the Canadian contingent that when it gets cold, you put on a sweater. You don't turn up the thermostat. Like you adapt. You don't make your house adapt because it costs a lot less for me to put on a hoodie and a beanie.
Does that mean it's actually cold in your house right now? Because that's ridiculous. That's crazy.
I don't know what I don't know. I mean, this is just a cozy hoodie.
Both of you guys are gonna get on a ship right now and sail off to go catch some crab. That's what it looks like, right? You guys are going. Yeah. You guys are both crab fishing.
No, I mean, I'm trying to keep as many dollars as I can to buy toys because they're not cheap. So that's if I can save $1 a day for the price of a cup of coffee a day, I can put on a hoodie and not turn up my thermostat.
I heard that. Holy crap, the chat is exploding. Thank you guys so much for being here. I'm literally going to just stream through these guys just really quickly. Raymond Chong is in the house. Raymond, good to see you, brother. Both of these guys are part of my hunter group. Justin Mohan, good to see you, brother. Always good to see you. Eldor is here. Master Versal Toy Hunter, good to see you, Eldor. Rodimus Primal, 1982. Let's see anybody else I haven't said hi to yet. We're good. Oh, here we go. Allison Troy's in the house. What's going on, Allison? The Retro Toy Princess herself. Always good to see Allison. We already said hi to. Geek the F Out has made an appearance. No problem, Geek the F Out. Guys, definitely give Geek the F Out a like and a follow. Also, please check out Master Versal Toy Hunter, another wonderful toy tuber. These guys are wonderful channels. Definitely give them a like and a follow. Tell them that we sent you. Matthew Fielder is in the house. Joe Gonzalez again. Jonathan Chong, what's going on, brother? How you doing tonight? Last few people, I think. Star again. Anybody else? Mothman 46, what's going on? Hills, is where yes, Hills is where the toys are. Unfortunately, I think Hills is gone, right? Hills doesn't exist anymore, or is Hills still? I think Hills is gone. Unfortunately, I believe Hills. That was a wonderful toy commercial I saw back in the 80s. Let's see here. Anybody else? I think we're almost done. Oh, here we go. Don Blanco, what's going on, my friend? It's like in England. People see a speck of dandruff and everything shuts down. What? England has that? I didn't think England had that problem. I thought England really. I know that it's mostly wet weather in England.
Yeah,
so
they're like Vancouver.
It's kind of like Vancouver. I was about to say. So
elevation, man, elevation.
All right. Well, you know what? Good on you,
mate. That's a different kind of cold.
Oh yeah, that's true. It is actually
that damp cold that gets into your bones.
That gets into your bones. Yes, that's true. Absolutely. Travis Boyle, what a beautiful worn hat by Crack. A beautiful hat worn by Crack. Easy there. Easy. Yeah, there are legal drugs up here, but calm yourself down, okay?
That's jealousy there.
I know. I hear it. I can hear it resonating. What do the kids call it now? A little salty there. Resident Obi-Wan. Sometimes I wonder if Hasbro and Mattel should just stop calling them crowdfunds and call them pre-orders. The companies aren't really seeing a boost in customer satisfaction from crowdfunding terminology.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. We shall come back to that. I do actually. That's a really good point. We shall come back to that, my friend. Quip. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Quip. No problem. Here too. Todd C is in the house. What's going on? And of course, highly articulated was right on top of that one. Drew Chase, thank you for the $2 super sticker, my friend. You're awesome. Jay Adam Brick, happy toy hunting in 2022. We're trying, brother. We are trying, but it's a very particular type of toy hunting. I am being very, very particular on what I'm buying these days. It has slowed down a lot compared to 3 years ago. Chris Allen's in the house. What's going on, my friend? I think we're almost there, everybody. And then we're going to get started. As a matter of fact, we are there. Johnny Luca and Jay Coombs is here. The fact that we're talking about toys and deep discount retailer pushes towards crowdfunding. Look at all the toys made with crowdfunding. Yes. As a matter of fact, I'm super excited that crowdfunding has allowed for artists, multiple artists, to achieve their dreams. This is actually, I think, the biggest thing that we really should talk about. I mean, Adam, let me know, and Brick, of course, but let me know, how did you guys discover AWOC? And what was it about it that really got you this passionate about this property? I mean, literally, it was one of those ones that went under the radar for me. But the moment you guys came onto the scene and started talking about it with your comic book recaps and the lore of AWOC, I was like, what the heck is going on here? This is something else. Something like I've never seen before. How is it the two of you guys really got involved in this? And then did the toy introduction and the Kickstarter and the crowdsourcing of those, did that really excite you as well, just going forward afterwards? Because I think the comics came first and then obviously the toys. I guess we'll start with Brick. What brought you into the scene?
So with AWOC, it was just like everybody else, just sort of hearing about it from the toy community. Actually, I think it might have been, I remember seeing it on back then, Robo doing the Foosh, right, on the weekly, and that was one place. I saw people talking about it on the Mythic Legions Cabal, and other toy news places. And so it was kind of like, hey, what's going on in that? And actually, rewind for a second. What I first saw was their very first toy line, which were for the smaller figures, not the current sort of 6 to 7 inch figures. And so intrigued, because I'm like really into the whole anthropomorphic animal thing. And so, right away I saw these like striking like apes and, feline, tiger kind of humanoid creatures in armor, and was kind of like, okay, those definitely ring sort of, some of the like nostalgic, vibes that I have, whether it was for like Planet of the Apes or Thundercats or what have you. And so was just sort of checking that out, but those are smaller figures, and kind of just waited. Then later they announced the larger line, and I was all about it. I saw the sculpts again over on the Mythic Legions Cabal. A lot of people were sort of talking about them, and I was just excited based on that. And then from there, it was like, check out the Kickstarter. What's this about? And then it was just like a constant dig for information from the Kickstarter. They sent you to the comic book, and anyway, I'll pause there because like at a certain point, mine and Adam's sort of AWOC adventure kind of overlaps a little. So how about you, Adam?
Yeah, I mean it was kind of a similar thing. So the like I admittedly, and I've said this before, like I didn't get on AWOC as soon as it sort of all kicked off. I was aware of the 4-inch line and I was aware of the Kickstarter. But my initial impression of AWOC was that they were awesome figures, but it wasn't necessarily something that I needed in my life. For me, a big part of what gets me all in on something is the lore, and so the Kickstarter was cool. The figures looked cool. The stretch goals were great. Like I honestly kind of wanted all of them, but I didn't know which one to pick as sort of like a reward, and then I didn't know, and then kind of the Kickstarter ended, and I didn't actually get any order in until the backer kit, and it was largely because I was like, well, I don't want to miss out on these, and at the time nobody was really like there wasn't any distribution for them, and so I was like, well, if I don't order them through, you know, the backer kit is by and large, you know, the sort of back end of Kickstarter. I was like, if I don't order them through the backer kit, it may be a long time before I have access to these figures, if ever, right? And so I got my order in for, I think I ordered like 3 or 4 of the figures and the comic book. And then as soon as I got the comic book, I went back and I was like, I need all of these. And as soon as I read the comic
100%.
book, I kind of started talking about it on videos. And then I saw this video and I was like looking for more AWOC stuff. I was like, is there any other videos? Is anybody talking about the comic books, anything like that? The AWOC Facebook group had just sort of started up. And so I joined that. And I saw this guy who had like a pretty small channel, just like me, that had done an AWOC video, who was like really hyped and like really excited to get the figures in hand. And it was sort of right around the same time. And so I watched this video and I was like, I'm going to reach out to this guy and see if he wants to like come on to my channel and talk about Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. And the rest is history. So that's where we cross over. It was Brick that I reached out to. If you guys didn't sort of put those things together.
If nobody clued in on that.
Yeah, if you could figure
You
that
didn't
out.
get that. You didn't catch that.
That's subtle hint. But you know, Brick, were you an initial funder of the AWOC figures themselves? Because you talked about the first small static figure. I think they were static figures, right? Or were they slightly articulated?
They were articulated. They're fully articulated, but they were, or some would say highly articulated, but they were like 4-inch figures.
Oh, so
Adam's got a couple, yeah.
A little bit bigger than 3 3/4 then, just like about a 4-inch figures themselves.
Yeah, I mean they're also like big creatures, but yes, and some of those are still available, and I've seen people take parts of them and kind of customize them onto current AWOC too, because some of the parts are larger. Like there's a dude with a big old robotic arm and stuff. So I think Adam's
grab that
for
one.
him.
Yeah, should have grabbed that one too.
Okay,
No.
so there we go. So wow, look at the size difference on those. That's quite the different size. Definitely yeah, about a 4-inch figure compared to a wow. So they are. So here's the funny thing about sizing, right? They are definitely what's it called? 1/12 no. Yeah, 1/12 scale for
No,
the
it would be like it's the equivalent of like 1/18. So that's so
they're even smaller.
I happen to have a Joy toy on my desk, which is 1/18, and then that's an AWOC figure. So they're pretty close.
Yeah, they are. But I was actually talking about. Sorry, that's correct. That is a 1/18, but the current AWOCs are 1/12, correct?
Well, let's just say if you had a buff part human, part monkey, that's probably works out to be true.
Yeah, because
I mean they're big. They're like run probably
a little bigger,
like 6.5.
Yeah, they're more they're perfectly in scale with like Super 7 Ultimates.
Yeah, but see, there's the
Mythic
thing.
Legion, stuff
Those
like
are
that.
all. So see, a lot of people consider 1/12 6-inch figures, but in reality, 1/12 is still even a 7-inch figure. It's weird how that works, right? Because between that scale, like there's no actual scale between, you know, like there's no 1/13th or 1/14th. Like people don't really consider those. 1/12 still seems to be within the range of 6 inch to 7 inch, maybe even closer to 8 inch. It's weird, right? But you know, aside from that, both of you guys ended up pulling the trigger on the 1/12 scale figures, the 6 inch, the 6 inch, 7 inch figures. How did you guys really get like, okay, so Adam, you got into it because they look cool, but then you said the comic book basically said, oh, this is it, I'm all in, right?
Oh,
Basically, once the lore got to you, you were 100% all in. Was that similar to you, Brick? Like were you all in the toys first and then the lore, or were you into the lore first and then the toys?
Oh man, I was toy first. I mean, in other words, I didn't have to read the comic to go like, I want a bunch of these figures. But pretty quickly, because the comic book was available for immediate download, that was obviously like, oh, dude, yeah, give me. I want to read. I want to know what these are about. And it was so again, again, there was like two versions of the comic. The very first original line had like Jason's like original version of the comic. That's why the figures actually look a little bit different, because the designs and everything were a little bit different back then. And then funnily enough, that was also a Kickstarter. We can talk about that later. And then it had the newer stuff. So, I mean, honestly, once I read the newer stuff, like Adam, I was like, yeah, I'm fully sold on this line. I was already into the toys, but just to kind of see that there was a lot more thinking behind it, and the sort of like dynamics of like, you know, your typical toy stuff in terms of like, there's different groups, there's good versus evil. But it's also like real, like cool, deep sci-fi stuff that most people didn't realize. Like it basically introduced me to the world in a way that was like, oh, okay, there's a lot going on in this whole little universe of Spiro toys. So got into that, but they're kind of were hand in hand, honestly, Jay. But I don't know. For me, it just like, I guess, reassured me that like, yo, this is gonna be a dope line. Like, the toys, I think, are super, like, you know, toyetic and cool looking. I think, like, I kind of talked about this in that video that Adam referenced, like the anthropomorphic thing. It's like, I know some people are kind of sick of it because it's definitely something that we're seeing a lot of right now in toys. But man, it's like it's just part of fiction, right? Like so much of the notion of like animals turned into humans, you know, we're on the eve, or not on the eve. We're just in the aftermath now, like of Mickey Mouse, right? Going public domain, and like one of the most famous, easily recognizable characters all over the world is a talking, walking mouse who wears pants. So, like it's not new,
and gloves.
Yeah, and gloves. It's not new. So the idea is like it's definitely like in our sort of like pop culture DNA. But also particularly in science fiction and fantasy stuff, like it's all over the place. So,
well, I mean,
yeah,
you could say multiple things about that, though. I mean, like, you know, and you know, not getting too far into the whole, you know, concept of anthropomorphic characters. I mean, for crying out loud, Mickey has a dog named Pluto, who is not like you know, a bipedal creature. He's an actual dog, right?
Yeah,
and a friend called Goofy, who
I've always wondered about that,
like his dog.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. When Goofy comes in contact with Pluto, what's the etiquette here? Like, who are you supposed to walk me? Am I supposed to walk you? What should I come down there and eat with you? Like, how does this work, right? Like, there's always that little juxtapositioning of this idea, and you know, there aren't that many other. And you know, Pluto's had a girlfriend. You know what I mean? Like, he said that the sausage dog. Yeah, I don't know if you remember that episode. He fell in love with the sausage dog.
Sure. I love that you call it a sausage dog. But yes,
they were fighting over a bone.
What it's called?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was one of those things.
She was cute.
You know, but this is the thing, right? Like we have dogs who are anthropomorphic. It's just one of those funny little things. And then we can talk about how Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles continues to redefine
100%.
You know, the idea of anthropomorphic characters. Every few years they come out and it reinvigorates the children of that era.
Yep.
It is the property that will not die. It's a property that continues to keep on giving. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely nuts. And each generation has its own version of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and it continues to make waves every single time. I don't know what Eastman and Laird had in that magic trick of theirs, but it just keeps coming back over and over and over again. And speaking about that, they themselves have created, arguably the next chapter for the true story of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with the Last Ronin, right? I mean, like those stories are just absolutely ridiculous for anybody who grew up with the ash cans and the underground versions of those books, because they were never meant for kids to read when you really dumb it down. You know what I mean? It was, again, the history of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is quite fascinating if you really look at the overall antithesis of the whole thing. But getting back to what we were talking about here,
Kickstarters.
Animal Wars of the Kingdom, again, is a wonderful example of a success story. However, it's my understanding that they were not a success at the beginning. They actually did not. Their first foray into Kickstarter, like many crowdsourced things, actually did not really go off as planned. Do you guys have any knowledge of that history, or is that something? I don't know, Adam. Do you have any insights on that? Or?
Well, I do have a bit. I mean, Jason, who is the originator of the Animal Warriors of the Kingdom IP. He's the guy that sort of came up with all of it. He's done several Kickstarters, and most of them have been for comic books. So Jay, as you mentioned, like an artist using a platform to create a venue to promote a product and to live out his dream. And he's had successful Kickstarters. He's had a failed Kickstarter. And the Kickstarter platform is I get why it gets a bad rap sometimes, because people are kind of like looking at Hasbro or Mattel or whoever and sort of, they're conflating a company that's got like 3 employees with a company that just fired 1,000 employees, and sort of assuming that both sort of are operating in the same ballpark. But the reality is one's a Sunday beer league and one is like professional sports, like they're not comparable at all. But I don't think that they really are necessarily approaching them in the same way. But Kickstarter is a funny thing because timing makes a difference. How you present it makes a difference. Whether it sort of catches the attention of Instagram and Facebook and the YouTube community and all these things. Like, you can have an amazing product and an amazing idea, but your Kickstarter can fall flat. And alternatively, you can have a crap product that catches a wave and does crazy numbers. So it's I mean, ultimately, it's like the most democratic way to decide whether or not somebody makes a product. And who's making that product, to me, is somewhat insignificant. It's basically like, put your money where your mouth is and vote. Vote with your wallet in real life, right? For real life, you're voting with your wallet. You're saying, I either will give you my money because I believe this product should be made, or no thanks, I'll pass. And I don't really know how people complain about crowdfunding. Like, if you don't like it, don't support it. And if you do, show your support. The whole idea of like, is it good or bad? I don't think it's either, right? It's a machine. It's not it's an inanimate object. It's a vehicle for commerce. It's not a, your crowd fund doesn't make a product good or bad. It doesn't make the company good or bad. It's just, objectively speaking, if your product isn't good enough, it won't fund. Sorry, I should rephrase that. If the value, or if the product that you're offering is not perceived to have the value of the price that you've attached to it, it will not fund. Does that make sense?
I mean, I see where you're coming from. I do, but as you said, multiple factors get involved.
Yeah.
During this process, one of them being, if there are any other crowdsourced projects happening at the exact same freaking time, that tends to, and we're going to get into that conundrum as we go on with this. But having said that, I think it's obvious that Kickstarter is not a one and done. You have to, according to what Adam has articulated here, your presentation first has to be on point. The offering has to appeal to a certain audience, and being someone being of an artist with no prior history or no following, or at least large following, to guarantee a certain number of sales is very risky for anybody who actually goes into a Kickstarter model hoping to actually get something out of it. There's also the idea of, what do you ask to start off with your Kickstarter, or your crowdsource project, because producing a comic book is very different than producing an action figure. It's the costs are astronomically different, right? Arguably, no, myself being part of the publishing industry, I know what it costs to actually produce a book, 24 pages. You know what I mean? No ads, what have you, right? Front cover, back cover, inside cover. I know what it costs roughly here in Canada, right? And that cost is literally 1/10, probably even 1/5 of what it would cost to produce an actual action figure. It's ridiculous how much an action figure costs. Between the tooling, forget the tooling, between the design, right? The engineering, right? What type of articulation do you want to put in this thing? Like, are you going to go for 1/18th, 1/12th, 1/24th? Like these are big. These are numbers which you have to consider, right? And then it comes down to the tooling, which is literally astronomical. And then you have to have somebody in the country where you're actually producing these things to actually know what they're doing in order to get the product that you expect.
Shout out to Dave, who's never going to watch this.
It's just absolutely crazy. And if all of those wonderful, if all of those pieces finally come together in some magical form to actually create something decent, then for whatever reason you come to market and all of a sudden you come up with something like this, it's a miracle. This, my friends, sitting right here that I'm holding in my hands, no word of a lie, is a fucking miracle. Okay, I'm just gonna go.
Bad word.
And I don't swear much, but I do say this is a fucking miracle. The fact that this thing articulates the way it does, the fact that the joints move the way you want them to, the fact that none of these pieces actually fall apart and are brittle, and the fact that the face sculpt is this good, the paint apps. Look inside that eye. That eyeball, right? Again,
I mention that that eyeball looks that good, but that caused a delay of about a month for those figures to get to market.
That's what I'm trying to say. And if you and these come in at what? What's the MSRP on this? 35?
Yeah, 35.
Yeah, and this came in at $35 effing dollars. How much is a Super 7 figure? $59. $59 freaking dollars right now. This is a $35 figure. Wait, I got one. Where am I here? Okay, yeah. One, just for reference here. Okay, just for reference. And hopefully I don't knock anything over here. This is what happens when you have a collection. All right. Think about this, guys. This is a $35 figure. This is a $60. This is a $60 figure. Do you see what I'm trying to say? And this is a company, an actual company with multiple employees. Like Super 7 has, at least I would imagine 24 employees, right? I'm being conservative here. I imagine Super 7 has about 24 plus employees. This company has how many employees, Adam?
4.
4 people came together, and probably a marketing, probably what's it called, a plant engineer over in
there's moving parts. I mean, there's people that have contract work to do. So they're like, I mean, Spiro Toys is Jason, really, and then beyond that, there's 2 sort of part-time people that do the fulfillment and warehouse stuff. I guess technically I'm an employee. I have a full-time job that is not, Spear Toys, but I'm now a professional shill for AWOC. But then beyond that, yeah, there's the project manager in Asia. There's 2 sculptors. There's Itamu who's doing art and stuff like that. But it's really it's a passion project for most people. I mean, I it's a passion project that I have been lucky enough to have gotten the opportunity to be somewhat involved with.
Yeah.
My wife will tell you I am not doing this for the money. And neither, to the best of my knowledge, is really anybody that's involved. I mean, it's one of those things where it's just fun. I mean, it's toys, and that's the way that it should be, right? Now, if I can just add one thing though, the AWOC toys are $35. The Super 7 are more than that, but there are figures that are less than that too. So it's not always fair to just compare one figure to another and sort of say, how is it that all figures don't cost the same? Because there's a lot of variables involved. And I'm not speaking for Super 7. I don't know why they're more expensive.
I'm being obtuse. I'm sorry. I'm being disingenuous to a certain degree because I know what it costs, right? I know what is involved in this. My point actually being is that, as I said earlier, and this is actually my point, this is a fucking miracle. That's actually my point. This is a fucking miracle at $35 freaking dollars.
Oh, they're fantastic.
That's no exaggeration.
They're fantastic. Yeah.
This is what I'm trying to say. Not this should be $80. Guys, do not get that twisted. That's actually
no. It shouldn't. It shouldn't because
no. I get
because
that.
people should get them. It should be, and that's the big thing. And I mean, I've had this conversation with Jason a whole bunch, and I mean, he could make a more expensive figure. But there's things that he could add to make that figure more expensive and so on.
But my point,
but he wants them to be, that price point because
that is exactly
people
my
can
point.
buy them.
Adam, that is exactly my point.
Yeah.
My point being is that a company with less than 10 employees, 4 of them being dedicated, right? Of another 6 of them being, industry requirements. You see what I'm trying to say? Like a company which employs less than 10 people, like less than 20 people, is able to make an action figure, bring out a figure that was only $35 freaking dollars. That's a miracle. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. And why is it a miracle? Because it's passion. Because an artist decided that I want to have an action figure so people can enjoy what I'm making. That is where crowdfunding, crowdsourced, projects are supposed to be. That was what originally.
Sure.
That is originally what it was meant for, right? I was leading up to that kind of idea. What I just showed here, with Conan the Barbarian, Thulsa Doom. There are multiple reasons why it's $55, $60. You have a licensing concern, right? Sure. How much did it cost for that license? $10,000, $25,000? Like, we don't know the numbers from Super 7. You have you have the tooling costs from multiple artists. You have the likeness rights from James Earl Jones. Those cost something as well. There's a difference between just the rights to make toys from the movie house. You still got to go over to James Earl Jones and say, hey, we need to get your license on these action figures. He's like, what, a toy? All right, there's another $25,000. The costs add up and up and up and up and up. This is an IP, an original IP, right? Owned by Jason, and there begins the trail of how you can shave off costs here and there and wherever. But even if you bring it to that level, the fact that it's only $35, in my opinion, is an absolute freaking miracle. Because if Jason was looking to make a buck off of this, it would be at least at $10 more, if not $20 more. That's my assertion. I actually don't know I don't know what's in Jason's head. But my point being is that this young man has decided, you know what, I want these in the hands of people, and I'm going to do whatever the heck I can to get them into these people's hands. That is absolutely ridiculous, right? I don't know, Brick. You've been very quiet. What are your thoughts on what Because I'm talking out of my ass here. No, I'm serious. I don't know what I'm talking about.
I was like,
I really don't.
Is that what that's? No. So I just want to say, like, I have a sense of Mega J, like you're saying, the initial intent of Kickstarters and the idea of crowdfunding, right, is for like folks who don't have a crap ton of capital at their disposal, who have an idea that they want to put out there, and it gave them the opportunity to reach directly out to potential consumers and turn those consumers essentially into investors into the thing, right? And so to help get the product to launch. So yeah, no, totally. If you're talking Kickstarter and the initial notion of the internet crowdfund, that's what it was. And I think AWOC is a great example. The other example that I like to talk a lot about is particularly Four Horsemen, which was the first action figure that I was aware of that went through the Kickstarter process. And so and they've like, I think they're a great example for a number of reasons, but like we get to see AWOC. I don't think people realize, but AWOC, we didn't get those figures in hand until this year, right? The past 2023 was the first year that people actually had those.
Last year.
Yeah, it's
5
a
days
dope
ago,
debut year. But if you kind of maybe want to look at the potential trajectory, of course, like things are different now, but Four Horsemen came with their idea for an action figure line. They put it out on Kickstarter, and yeah, that thing was like, caught attention of a lot of people. It was new, it was fresh. It kind of filled a gap in the marketplace, particularly with sort of high fantasy action figures. It had the pedigree, of course, of the Four Horsemen. So I like to look at that, because if you fast forward to where they've gone and even how they continue to do business, particularly with pre-orders, not crowdfunds, with pre-orders still today, I think you could learn a lot about the value and importance of the whole crowdfunding model, because I think what people don't talk enough about is that what crowdfunding does is it allows you as a business to identify people who are going to be like, say, like, we are down for this product. We are incredibly interested for this product. You get to find like the nerds who are like, I haven't seen the toy yet, but I'm going to make a bunch of videos about it. And like, hey, let's, like, you're going to find those people. And because it's the internet, right? You're putting in your information. They know who you are. You build a relationship with the updates. And so now you're developing like this hardcore fan base that, assuming you actually are able to deliver and deliver well, these are folks who are going to be the first people to say, hey, you should check this out. Like, this is the greatest thing ever. Everyone should be buying this. I mean, right? And so that's what Four Horsemen did. And if you look at, I mentioned the Cabal earlier, like literally there was this hardcore community of fans that are like essentially like, to use the Macintosh, Apple Macintosh vernacular, they used to call it like evangelizing, right? There were Mac evangelists who would go around and like tell people how to use a Mac and the beauty of a Mac, and because it was tiny. So like there's a bunch of folks who like are all about that for Four Horsemen. Beyond that, they created essentially like this whole like indie cottage industry of figure customizers, of dio makers, of soft goods manufacturers, right? Like so I look at all that because it's like that's where I think you really can see the sort of value and the significance, I think, for toys in particular, of a crowdfund. Now, to contrast that with what I think you've been coming, sort of like coming up to the line and then not quite naming it yet. I know you but the notion of, say, Hasbro, right? The biggest player in the game, I'm not sure. One of the biggest players in the game, or even Mattel, right? Saying, hey, we've got this toy that we want to sell, even though we sell you toys all the time. We want to know if you're interested in buying this, even though we create products and put them into retail stores and have them at retail outlets pretty regularly. So, that's not an issue. Will you crowdfund this? Will you back this project? So I hear you on that, Jay. Like, that seems a little odd. And to me, I don't necessarily think that's an issue of like that they need it. per se, and I'm sure you'd agree with that. I think at the end of the day, they're just adapting like everyone else to the retail reality. We started this conversation out talking about how like, hey, this is the first time we saw a bunch of like Hasbro toys at Ross, and there was somebody else in the channel. Sorry, I'm forgetting your name. They said, yeah, you know, as someone who works in retail, I can tell you, I'm seeing like definitely a the some shrinkage, right? That's for you, Kayla. Some sort of shrinking in the marketplace, and it's not just action figures. They're saying toys in general. So, yeah, I think that's. I know it seems like, especially coming out of the lockdown era, that everyone seemed to be buying toys, and there was a lot of toys available, and people were spending a lot of money on toys. It's true. That's 100% true. However, I also, if you look at the last, say, 20 to 25 years in retail in general in the world, like we're talking the advent of the, that like in the late 90s, we shifted from retail stores. You were talking about all those different retailers that used to exist. How many of those still exist? Right. I remember a time when there were like these things called bookstores. Right. And I remember seeing massive bookstores have to compete with this online retailer who was getting into textbooks, selling textbooks online. What a crazy idea. And then eventually books online. What a crazy idea. And then selling housewares and everything else online. And now like Amazon is like the number one retailer on the planet. So like all of that, I think, is why you have a Hasbro and a Mattel humming and hawing a little bit around like, hey, can we still sell a $200 large play set? Now, can they? Maybe. I don't know. But at the end of the day, if you have the choice and you're seeing like a Four Horsemen, an AWOC, a Cyberzoic, combat creatures, right? And all these other folks who like didn't exist and all of a sudden come out of the woodwork and have these like toys prototypes and everywhere, and everyone's clamoring for them all of a sudden. It's sort of like, hey, man, if they can do it, why can't we? Like they effectively are a competition. So anyway, I'm laying it down a lot there. I did sit back for a little bit, but like just to throw that out there, I think that's kind of the landscape we're in right now. And I get why a Hasbro and a Mattel might wonder if I should sell a 3-foot Galactus or not, or a 2-foot Giant Man or not. Even though people are saying, well, you sold a Galactus, you could totally do a Giant Man now, no problem. I don't know. And then I'll just throw in one more thing. You're on the internet, Jay. You're on the internet, Adam. Like, how many times do we see people get ornery and nitpicky and sabotage things and be negative on the internet? So all of a sudden you're Hasbro, right? You're Goliath essentially. And you're like, yeah, I'm going to sell this toy. And like, oh, everyone loves Marvel Comics. I mean, everyone loves Giant Man. Like he's the Avengers, right? Like, you know, and so like, cool. That's going to go over really easily. No problem. Everyone loves G.I. Joe. Like, yeah, no, it's so I get why there's some volatility, sort of like that they factor in and say, you know what, can we just get people to pre-order or commit funds first before we sell this thing? Anyways.
So you know, and those are incredible points, Brick, and you bring up a lot of things which you were going to bring up anyway. So yeah, not, and you know, obviously there's a lot to consider here. The impetus of what we're talking about here, though, is, you know, crowdfunding, and its overall root. Like, why was crowdfunding even invented? Like, what, you know, people just don't even think about this. It's just something in the lexicon of what we have right now, you know, because again, it's become part of popular culture, you know, with these huge crowdfunding projects that started, you know, way back in the 2000s, you know, that just blew people's minds, right? The advent of Kickstarter, the advent of, you know, the digital age of crowdfunding. People just like said, hey, you know what, Ouya raised you know, $2 million freaking for a for a game system. You know, what does that mean? And then also you come, you know, almost like half a decade later, here comes McFarlane making $6 million for an action figure set with comic books. You know what I mean? Like, there was just so many different things that were coming along. Then you have what's his name, Keanu Reeves, making a comic book for like almost $10 million. You know what I mean? Like, these huge celebrities just getting into the game and just like breaking records left, right, and center. It really started to come up to the idea is like, who's really what was Kickstarter really made for? And I really started wondering that myself. I was like, where did Kickstarter, where did crowdfunding actually come from? So, and this is all anecdotal information. Anybody can write up anything on Wikipedia, but if we head over to Wikipedia, right, for better or for worse, let's just take a look at what Wikipedia says about crowdfunding and its overall starting. So Wikipedia defines crowdfunding as the practice of funding a project or venture by raising money from a large number of people, typically via the internet. Now, we're going to get back to that because that is today's definition of it. Crowdfunding is a form of crowdsourcing alternative finance. In 2015, over 34 billion was raised worldwide in 2015. Holy crap. That is absolutely ridiculous. Though similar concepts can also be executed through mail order subscriptions, benefit events, and other methods, the term crowdfunding refers to internet-mediated registries. Well, that's what we know about it for today. Let's move back to a little bit in history. Funding by collecting small donations from many people has had a long history with many roots. Books have been funded this way in the past. Authors and publishers would advertise book projects in paranumeration. I can't even read that. Anybody can read that?
Remuneration.
Remuneration. There you go. A new word I haven't heard of before. An early form of the subscription-based model. There you go. Or subscription schemes. The book would be written and published if enough subscribers signaled their readiness to buy the book once it was out. The subscription business model is not exactly crowdfunding, since the actual flow of money only begins with the arrival of the product. However, the list of subscribers has the power to create necessary confidence among investors that is needed to risk the publication. War bonds, as well, are a theoretical form of crowdfunding in military conflicts. London's mercantile community saved the Bank of England in 1730 when the customers demanded their pounds to be converted into gold. They supported the currency until the confidence of the pound was restored. And then we can even go to the first company, and here's more where we're getting into. Crowdfunding on the internet first gained popularity in mainstream use the music and arts community. The first noteworthy instance of online crowdfunding in the music industry was 1997, when fans of the British rock band Milarian raised $60,000 in donations through an internet campaign to underwrite its entire U.S. tour. That's incredible. The band subsequently used this method to fund studio albums. This built on the success for crowdfunding via magazines, such as 1992 campaign by the Vegan Society that crowdfunded the production of Truth or Dairy video documentary. In the film industry, independent writers Mark Tapio Kines designed a website in 1997 for his then unfinished feature, Foreign Correspondence. By early 1999, he had raised more than $125,000 on the internet from at least 25 fans. 25 fans raised $125,000?
That can't be right.
Holy crap. Those must be some, what are they called now? Angel investors?
Yeah, those are
Asian investors.
If those 25 people are available, there's AWOC Kickstarter coming up in March.
I know.
If you got a couple bucks left over,
providing him with the fans to complete his film. Oh my God. Like I said, angel investors. I think they were producers in Hollywood or something. In 2002, pretty much, the free Blender campaign was an early software crowdfunding precursor. The campaign aimed for an open source Blender 3D computer graphics software by collecting 100,000 euros in the community while offering traditional benefits and donating members. As we can see here, this is what we're talking about for crowdsourcing, where, it benefits worthy causes, right? Whether you're a British rock band looking to raise money for your tours. Now, these are, of course, noteworthy, massive campaigns, right? For artists and causes, right? Because obviously, you're a band, you're a vegan society, right? You're an open
Bank
source.
of England.
Yes, exactly. You're an open source developer looking to put Blender into the market, right? Making it free for everybody, right? These are altruistic kind of idea. Well, for the most part, there are things to share with other people, is what I'm trying to say, right?
Sure.
And then when we come down to this paragraph here is where things start to get very interesting. The first company to engage in the business model was the first U.S. website, Artist Share, in 2001. As the model matured, more crowdfunding sites appeared to the web, such as Kiva, The Point, which is a precursor to Groupon, Indiegogo in 2008, Kickstarter in 2009, GoFundMe in 2010, Microvengers in 2010, UCarry in 2011, and Redshine Publications 2012 for the book publications. And that's actually where we are today. Not probably some of these have already dropped off the map, but there are a number of different crowdsource sites to help out individuals as well as corporations to actually achieve their goals. But the initial concept of crowdfunding was more or less to help projects or causes or something worthy of actually getting enough people to back it, as Adam has said, becoming investors in of themselves, and putting together enough money to actually get something going, whether it's a concert, whether it's a website, whether it's a piece of software which can help people as an open source project for everybody to use, right? And now fast forward to, I guess, closer to 2010, 2011, we're looking at corporations really getting into this for reasons which seem to appeal to fans, but at the same time, still looking to, I guess, if you would say, cover their bottom line. And before I get to that point, what are your thoughts on the anecdotal history? Because that's all I can say. Because we don't know where these facts are coming from, but the anecdotal history of crowdsource as a medium in the history of the world. Brick, Adam, who wants to take a stab at this one?
Yeah, I mean, it's again, it's one of those things where you kind of you have to look at it on a case by case basis, right? Because you've got who's worthy of crowdfunding and who's not becomes very, very ambiguous and vague, because in the examples there was like a rock band and the Bank of England. In a lot of ways, you're looking at Spiro Toys and Hasbro, right? But we're also looking at this through the lens of toy collectors. We are looking at crowdfunding through the lens of the Hith Tank and Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. We're not looking at this through the sort of less biased perspective of something like GoFundMe, where there somebody's house burns down or somebody's sick or whatever, where there's an entirely different cause, where the recipient of the crowdfund is effectively one person, right? Like there's all these different reasons to have a crowd-sourced funding project, and I don't think one is better than the other, right? Like that's sort of what I'm getting at, is that, like, does Hasbro need to crowdfund a project? I don't know. Does a small toy company need to crowdfund a project? Probably. Like there's different reasons, and those reasons don't make a crowdfunding project worthy or not. Like I've said before, what makes it worthy or not, or what makes it worth your investment, is whether you believe in it or not. Like that's the whole point, is that it's a democratic way of doing this. It's ultimately for anybody that's doing it to fund a project, or to fund a product. Sorry, not a project. But for anybody that's using crowdsourcing for funding to bring a product to market, it's the same, and their motivations may be different, right? Like Hasbro's not worried about the money so much as they are worried about the market. Whereas a smaller company, whether that's, you know, Creative Beast Studios doing Cyberzoic, or Ideas from Mars doing the Armies of Ashmore, or Spiro Toys doing Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, or, you know, name the Kickstarter that you're passionate about, right? They're doing it because they need the capital up front to pay for tooling to make sure that you can get those figures. Otherwise, it's like this really, really slow trickle of pre-orders, you know, to sort of get to the amount that they need to send that money to the factory to get them to do the molds. So it's I don't know. I mean, it's become so convoluted because people are now sort of attaching identities to companies, in the sense that, you know, corporations are now like good or bad, whether they're small or large, you know, whatever and people are now sort of getting into these moods where they're like, we're going to push back against this company because we don't like their Kickstarter. It's like, you don't like their product, so you're just going to say that this company is, you know, out to lunch or whatever. It's like, you know, the thing, we haven't gotten here, but I'm just going to go here.
Do it.
The thing with Hasbro doing crowdfunding is that people go, oh, well, Hasbro's a multi-billion-dollar company. And I mean, I got a Hiss tank, right? I love the Hiss tank. I'm happy that I backed that project, because if I hadn't, well, not just me, but I mean, if the 27,000 people that backed it or whatever didn't back it, I wouldn't have a Hiss tank. That's the long and short of it, right? Like, if people didn't back it because Hasbro doesn't deserve to have that platform at their disposal, we wouldn't have gotten it. And it's phenomenal. So anybody that didn't back it, sucks to be you. That's my opinion. They wouldn't make it, because if they're going to lose, you know, millions of dollars by making it, why would they do it? It doesn't make any sense. Classified does not make billions of dollars. Classified makes a few $1 million. So Hasbro might be a multi-billion-dollar company, but the G.I. Joe Classified brand team and the HasLab brand team, and they're not the same company, that's two teams working together, by the way, they're not making $5 billion, and they're not laying people off. You know what I mean? The people that are in charge of buying a $3 billion media arm of your company and then selling it for peanuts, they're the people that are screwing it up, not Lenny and Emily. So it just doesn't, like, the math doesn't math when people kind of go, $1 billion company shouldn't have to do this. You know, they didn't crowdsource Hungry Hippos. They didn't crowdsource Monopoly. We're talking about.
They did crowdsource HeroQuest though. So.
Well, yeah, that's true. But it's my point being, we use these weird sort of, you know, these weird measurements and these weird metrics that just aren't applicable. People want them to be applicable because it makes the narrative fit better, but it's not the reality. You know, the lens is not accurate. You know, you're turning the binoculars around and going, see, it's right there in front of you. It's not what people think, right?
So Adam's brought up a ton of great points, which I
come at me, chat.
I think Adam kind of jumped the gun though, because my question was actually, what were your thoughts on the article that we just read?
Yeah, well, yeah. Sorry, my thoughts on the article is that it's been around forever and it's gonna be around forever.
Yeah, because I was
the stigma now is just different.
See, I had all these
through
points
the lens that we.
I was just saying, because I had all these points leading up to, you know, that discussion, and Adam just goes ahead and just decides to put it all out there. So great stuff, Adam. Great stuff. I wasn't going to interrupt you. I wasn't going to stop you. I love the passion. I love the whole idea, because again, there's also the idea about the outside looking in too, right? Mm-hmm. Like a lot of people. Okay, so I'm only speaking for myself. I'm sure Adam's only speaking for himself and his
Yeah.
experience.
Oh yeah.
Are you going to jump beyond the article yet, or
Well,
if so, I wanted to speak real quick around
yeah,
the
of course.
article.
Let me just finish this little point, and then
Yep.
I'll let Brick
Word.
know, because poor Brick is literally like, yeah. Anyway,
No,
all I'm
I'll
saying,
see myself out.
I know, right? All I'm saying is that when you actually work inside the industry, it's a very different story, because you see what happens on the day-to-days, right? Or even somewhat as one of the suppliers, like myself, who does the graphic design, who does the actual printing and all those processes there. I know what it costs to actually make those packages. I know what it costs to actually put out the advertising for this thing. I know what the advertising costs. I know what all that stuff happens. I deal with marketers every day. I deal with all these people who are getting paid to actually do this, and I know what it costs to actually pay those people to get this done. So in reality, there's a lot of customers people just don't understand are associated with these projects. But it's so easy for a fan to say, Jesus Christ, this thing costs $450. What the hell am I paying for? Why the hell is $1 billion company to actually ask me as a consumer, right? Joe Blow nobody, for $450 when I bought a Millennium Falcon 2 years ago for only $200. You know what I mean? And it actually has lights and sound, whereas this freaking his tank only has one little light that does nothing, right? That's the kind of mindset that a lot of people have, right? Because again, they know what they had versus what is happening today, and they realize. But in a lot of ways, what they I'm just going to wrap this up a little bit right now. What they forget is that those Millennium Falcons a year later were on sale for $25. You know what I mean, on clearance, because that same retailer could not freaking move that product. And is that good for the company, or is that bad for the retailer? There's a lot of things to talk about, and we're going to get to that as well. Brick, what were your thoughts on this article?
Going back to the article, because you were pointing out, Jay, like, hey, these are kind of like, I think you used the word noteworthy or worthy, sort of causes or whatever it was. But I just want to point one other angle in that is that you mentioned it was a vegan society doing a film to get a film produced and in the cans and presumably released.
In my defense, I was just reading whatever was in the article.
Or sorry, but from the article. So there's a film to get produced, right? And then the other one was a band, and I'll just use those two. There were some other ones, but just those two. Part of those all are what was happening there too is that both of those things, whether it's producing music and or touring, and then producing a film and then having it shown in theaters or getting it to the hands and eyeballs of an audience, both of those had actually established ways of doing that, right? You had the record label system, right? And radio, presumably still at that time, and the record stores who would sell the stuff. And then you had like movies, right? You had a studio system. If you were doing a documentary like this, you had to find like someone who's going to help fund the documentary, etc. So both of those things had established ways of doing things. And frankly, I mean, it's capitalism. If you have a lot of capital, it's easier to do those things and access those systems. You might even own parts of those systems. So it becomes real easy. So I'm saying that because I think part of the crowdfunding thing is for people who don't have access and or want to create alternative ways of reaching an audience. And essentially in many ways, like, hey, like, let's just make our own movie, right? It's the whole indie film, right? We're a bunch of nerds here. Like Star Wars was one of the first indie films, right? Self-funded and all of that outside of the studio system. So it's like, I just wanted to point that out, that there's a little bit of that history and that need to kind of work outside of an established way of doing things. That I think is what we saw in the crowdfunding thing. And I think that's relevant because in 2023 or now 2024, I actually do, to go back to my early point. Again, please don't get me wrong. I'm not like trying to get sympathy for Mattel or Hasbro or any massive corporation. We can have that conversation elsewhere. And like, you might be surprised at what I have to say about that. But I do think I understand the logic of maybe why a Hasbro might be considering new ways of doing things, because I think, for example, the relationship with retailers has changed from when they're doing toys in the 80s and 90s than the relationship to retailers, of which there are a lot less of these days in the 2020s, right? They, shelf space at Target is precious and different, as is at Walmart. That's why we have things, the stupid, annoying, Target exclusive, Amazon exclusive, Walmart exclusive, because in many ways the retailers are in a very different position now and can make certain demands. And so when you, as a toy manufacturer, want to like go to your retail outlets and go like, hey, guess what? I know we've mainly done figures, but we're going to try something different. We're going to do a gigantic box. It's a giant playset or a giant vehicle, and it's actually going to cost about, I don't know, 6 times what we normally have on our SKUs. You got that, right? No, like retailers are like, what are you talking about? That's not something we can easily do for you. Whereas I think when you had a Toys R Us and you had, even like all those different retailers back in the day in the 80s, they were willing to do that because it was just a different time and a different landscape. So that's all I want to say about the article. I think in many ways, even your big corporations are finding like the established ways of doing things are shifting and changing. So we're kind of need to find new ways, just like that vegan society needed to find a way to make a movie and get into people's hands.
Sorry, I'm just cycling through some of the things I wanted to bring up next.
Sure.
Excellent points, Brick. Once again, there's a lot of misconceptions about what it takes to actually bring a product to market, and I think that we as fans are as passionate about the properties that we are looking towards and looking forward to supporting as much as we are looking to save money. And these ideas, with HasLab and with Mattel Creations, Matty Collector in some form, Super 7, right? All these different initiatives that have been brought forward, they were supposed to be for dream projects, right? That's actually the beginning of this the impetus of this whole thing.
Marketing anyway.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they told us, right? If we look at the idea of where Indiegogo first started, again, all anecdotal information. Indiegogo is an American crowdfunding website founded in 2008 by Danae Ringelman and Savla Rubin and Eric Schell, headquartered in San Francisco, California. This site was one of the first sites to offer crowdfunding, allowing people to solicit funds for an idea, charity, or startup business. Now, this is basically one of the things that I wanted to bring up earlier. The whole concept of Indiegogo, the name itself is very telling as to what the whole concept was supposed to be, on this idea. Independence, getting things to move, right? Indiegogo. As a matter of fact, it says right here, it allows people to solicit funds for an idea, a charity, or a startup business. I believe that even in their mission statement, there's something along those lines on how it goes. If we go back to the history, in 2002, working as an analyst on Wall Street, Danae Ringelman and co-produced a reading of. By the way, I'm probably messing up people's names, so I apologize ahead of time. Of reading of an Arthur Miller play. Through the performance, although the performance was popular with audiences, there was little financial incentive available, and Ringelman decided to seek alternative revenue streams. Originally inspired to work with independent filmmakers and other theater producers, after a filmmaker of 50 years, her senior worked as J.P. Morgan and asked her to fund his film. In 2006, Ringelman went onto the Haas School of Business to start a company she felt would democratize fundraising. There she met Eric Schell and Salva Rubin, who had similar experiences with fundraising. Schell had previously worked with the House Theater Company in Chicago, while Rubin had started charity fundraising for cancer research after losing a father to cancer as a child. Moving forward here, let's just get to the actual media. There's a lot of stuff in there. In June 2012, Indiegogo raised $50 million, a series of round for Insight Ventures, Khosla Ventures, Steve. Again, I'm going to mess this up. Schottler, Zynga's co-founder, in January 2014, a series of B-round funding. Actually, this is kind of ridiculous. I don't know what these things are. But anyway, I'm reading stuff that's not really that relevant. I should actually go back. The site officially launched at the Sundance Film Festival in January of 2008 with a focus on film projects. In June 2010, MTV New Media partnered with Indiegogo to develop new content for the site's projects. In September 2011, the company raised $1.5 million in Series seed financing round, which led to Metamorphic Ventures, FF Venture Capital. Basically, it is saying here that they were officially launched to start working on film projects, worked with MTV New Media, and then started actually going into major venture capitalists to actually raise more money, and even helped with Barack Obama's startup American project Indiegogo to offer crowdfunding to entrepreneurs in the USA. But at the root of this, what I was trying, what my point in all this is, a company called Indiegogo, at least in its positioning, really does sound like a place for independent creators to actually get what they want.
Yeah,
right?
initially it was like it said films, and I thought music. Like as a
Yeah.
musician back in the day, and like people were here in San Francisco, like that was the big chatter.
Yeah.
It was like, hey, you could do this thing, like self-release your record, or you could fund a film.
100%. And in the background, we also have fundraising for medical purposes. There was cancer research mentioned here, right? There was also
I think they had to create a separate company for that.
Probably
That's Indiegogo Life.
Yes, and probably because of the legalities behind those types of things, right? Then, right? So basically, a lot of people did hear about Indiegogo, but I think things really started ramping up when Kickstarter got involved, right? Kickstarter was no longer, it brought it out of the idea of just independent ideas to, you can kickstart anything you want, whatever you want, any idea you have, you can make it happen. And it started, where did it say here? Let's just go to the history. Kickstarter launched on April 28th, 2009 by these people: Perry Shen, Yancey Stickler, Charles Alder. The New York Times called Kickstarter the people's NEA. Time named it one of the best inventions of 2010 and best websites of 2011. Kickstarter reportedly raised $10 million in funding from backers, including New York-based venture firm. As you can see, there was a lot of things going on with this, and it really did feel more like a site for, just even the name itself. It really did sort of feel like it was going for a more company focused, not company. I'm not saying it right. Basically, as I said in the beginning, it's for anything you want. You know what I mean? What Indiegogo really says, kind of idea of artists, people who have passions, that kind of idea. Kickstarter seemed like it was one of those things where you could literally make anything you want. As a matter of fact, the model says Kickstarter is one of a number of crowdfunding platforms gathering money from the public, which circumvents traditional avenues of investment. Project creators choose a deadline and a minimal funding goal. I think that's actually what popularized that whole idea as well. Their overall model on how things were done, really did set the bar for multiple things. And I think that actually everyone started doing the same thing, where they would set a goal, they would set stretch goals, and they would set a time in which you could actually get these things done. And if not, they also had this idea of all or nothing, right? I think that's really where, right here, if the goal was not met by a deadline, no funds are collected, a kind of assurance contract, which is abused all the time, by the way, just so everybody is not, we're all talking about the same thing. The Kickstarter platform open to backers anywhere in the world, to creators in many countries, including US, Canada, UK, Australia, New Zealand, Netherlands, Denmark, Ireland, Norway, Sweden, Spain, France, Germany, Austria, Italy, Belgium, Luxembourg, Switzerland, and Mexico. The Kickstarter applies a 5% fee on the total funds, blah, blah, blah. No guarantee that people who post projects on Kickstarter will deliver their projects. That was the other, the bad side of the Kickstarter thing. There are multiple channels who actually report on kick scammers and things along those natures. So it is interesting to see how that part of the or altruism, just basically, and people funding a dream, really can backfire on so many different people. It really is a fascinating idea. But it really is an interesting idea from where Kickstarter is to where Indiegogo originally came from. The whole concepts are two completely different. Well, not even a complete different, but it is a stark contrast between these two companies and how they started and where we are today. On that note, though, putting it back to what we're discussing here, this still goes, and this really leads us back to the conversation. One site, at least initially, was developed for artists and musicians and theater and movies. The other side basically said, let's do what we want. Let's make what we want. If you can dream it, you can make it. If there are enough people, as Adam has said, who believe in your project and are invested in your project, that's the reason why you should be crowdfunding your own project. What are your thoughts about these two different, like not super contrasting? They both kind of like skew in the same ways, but what are you guys thoughts about the differences, the differences and similarities between Indiegogo and Kickstarter? And I'm going to start off with Adam, who I'm pretty sure has a lot to say about these about this.
No, I mean the different models, and whether it's Indiegogo or Kickstarter or one that we haven't discussed and maybe won't or whatever. They're all just approaching it a little bit differently. They all have their different take, their different spin. Largely whoever kind of comes up with the platform is going to have an interest in something, and it's their interest that's going to dictate how their platform works, or what have you. Now, one thing that's a little bit overlooked, and like if you go down further on all those Kickstarter, or not Kickstarter, sorry, all those Wikipedia pages, is like all of those platforms are making money.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not as though it's a completely, altruistic thing where, there's just this rich philanthropist who's just facilitating this stuff. Anywhere from sort of 3 to 10% gets taken off the top by these companies. I mean, these are companies as well, right? Like, let's not forget that. These are companies that create platforms for people that don't have a platform. And they're going to be different, right? So Indiegogo was sort of generating funds in general and then distributing those funds, to the best of my knowledge, whereas Kickstarter sort of allows you to bring your project to the platform, and then the platform disseminates that information into the world through advertising and different marketing channels and advertising channels and so on and so forth. So the difference between them is more or less the difference between the people that started them, I think. And I think as time goes on, the reason that there's not just one of them, right? As time goes on, there's pitfalls to all of them, where none of them are perfect, and none of these platforms is truly, it's not like 100% of what these people are doing is making it to the end goal ultimately. So they're all just trying to figure out how they can get their piece, right? Is my opinion. But
and you know what, you're not wrong, right? You're not wrong, Adam. I mean, like the surface level of anything, right? As we were talking about right now, you don't know what's actually happening in the background, right? It takes money to run a site which has millions of people visiting it every day,
Sure.
right? Based on traffic numbers alone, and the costs involved with actually running a site that large, right, are measurable, right? But also, how many times is it attacked every day, right? How many people want to take that site down just for being able to say I took it down? So there's security costs involved. There are so many reasons why there's an off the top 3 to 5% to 10% cut, right? It's the same question of and we're not going to get into this tonight, but what's it called? Patreon, same thing. They offer that actually is directly supposed to support artists and creators and things, and even they take 10% of what it is that you earn. But again, they've tried multiple times to raise that cost, and it backfired multiple times because by the time they had decided that they wanted to raise things to a significant degree, there were other offerings out there, other competitors, if you will, who are there. Again, it's an open market, right?
We're on YouTube. I mean, do we want to talk about the YouTube as a platform? What they take percentage wise?
Well,
it's
that's
bonkers.
That in and of itself is one thing. But then, like you said as well, right? And not even like we said, just really touching on that really quickly because you just kind of mentioned it. The reality is, we wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for YouTube, right? So, what do we really owe YouTube? You know what I mean? Like this is, and how much does it cost to run YouTube? Does anybody actually know? We're talking about billions of dollars to run YouTube. People just don't understand what it actually costs. Now, that's not to say it costs billions of dollars to run a website like Indiegogo, but there are lots of people involved there. There are lawyers. There are a lot of things involved in keeping that site running. But, understandably enough, right? You're not wrong, Adam. At the end of the day, they are taking 3 to 5 to 10%, depending on where you go.
On that Wikipedia thing, though, too, the Kickstarter Wikipedia, there was a little line that said in 2020, I think it said 2020, they laid off a whole bunch of people. People aren't talking about like, well, Kickstarter laid off people. Hasbro lays off people, and it's a big deal.
But there's the thing when you we're going to get into that too. How big is it that you get before something's starting to break? Right? There's a lot of things about that too. Brick, what are your thoughts on this on these two different platforms?
I don't think I have a ton to sort of add to the Indiegogo Kickstarter thing. Just I actually think we should probably get to the toy part, but I don't have a whole lot to say about them. Only to point out that like both Kickstarter and YouTube, I mean, these are all local. These are companies here, right? Where I'm at, and so I'm a teacher now, but my background was in graphic design and tech. And, like I know a lot of folks who try to get jobs and worked in these different places. At one point, some of these smaller companies were clients of mine or of the businesses that I worked with, and so just sort of sharing all that because like I just remember the conversations like right around anywhere between late 90s, 98 till throughout the early 2010. There were all sorts of just new models coming up. Like the whole idea of like, hey, let's do this. What if, what's this .com thing? Let's take stores and put them online. Let's take information and put it online and see if we can make money that way. Let's get people to put their social media, we didn't call it social media back then, but like have friends online, Friendster. Let's have people put their journals online. And so the whole notion of like, well, what else can we do? Can we do investing? Can we sort of essentially like democratize investing? And so I just you all kind of alluded to it. That's all I really just want to. We should probably move on because I am kind of curious. I want to talk about some of the toy stuff and
But the back end, I know nothing about this stuff. This is just my opinion based on nonsense.
Sure. But it is sort of important to like look at the history of Kickstarter and crowdsourcing because the actual impetus the actual initial idea of crowdsourced projects was like to build bridges. You know what I mean? To help fund the war, to keep bonds. We did talk about banks, but you know what? To keep a bank from defaulting, so that people could still take out money the next day. There are things which are questionable at the end of the day, but the real idea was, can we build a church with this? Can we build a building for homeless people? Can we do that? I didn't go too far into the rest of the article, but
churches are crowdfunded.
Can I speak to that point though, Jay? In terms of like the initial intent of a thing versus how it transforms and what it becomes in practice, I just want to point out too, though, like along those lines, like we know things they transform over time and they're constantly negotiated, right? And they shift. I just want to point out that like if we're going to judge a thing based on what its initial intent is versus what it became, I mean, we could talk about the internet. The initial intent of the internet was to provide an information network that wouldn't be taken down by the Soviets in case of a nuclear attack. And then it became, well, it's for, information sources and libraries to connect and for people to communicate. And then we transformed it into a way for you to like talk about toys on the internet.
To troll people.
And porn.
So it's troll label and porn.
I'm just saying like what it was intended to do. I mean, I get the notion, but like, it transforms.
Well,
just to throw that out there.
Transformative ideas, like nothing, everything is a growing, nurturable thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the nature of Kickstarter, of crowdsourcing, has changed, right? It really has, and this is actually what we're discussing right now.
Yep.
Now, getting to toys, since this is actually what we're here for. Toys have been crowdsourced as well, like since back in the day. You could look at multiple different types of ideas for crowdsourcing. Not to get too far into it, but notably, I think as far as we as collectors might understand it, I think the first real noticeable Kickstarter, or sorry, see, there's the thing, right? It's because again, it's become a lexicon, right? Like we're replacing crowdsource. A lot of times, people replace crowdsource or crowdfunding with Kickstarter, right?
Yeah.
It's become like it's kind of like in the Philippines where you call everything a
Kleenex?
ball pen, huh?
Kleenex.
Sorry?
Kleenex.
Kleenex, yes, Kleenex, exactly.
Frigidaire versus refrigerator.
My back in the day, my parents used to call it pencil pen, and I was like, "What the hell is that?"
Sure.
It's a marker.
Yep.
Right? People don't. Pencil pen doesn't even exist as a company anymore.
Yep.
Xerox. Nobody says photocopy. Everybody says Xerox, right? Like that. At least that's changed again. Again, the lexicon has changed. But anyway, the one which is really noticeable, notable, I think, the very first one, which a lot of people will recognize as being one of the first things that's been crowdfunded by a major corporation, is undoubtedly, and a lot of people are going to groan at this, is undoubtedly Castle Grayskull. Castle Grayskull, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, was one of the major, like, gigantic play sets that was first crowdsourced by a major corporation, $1 billion corporation at the time, even today. And of course, we're going to bring up our good friend Scott Neitlich, who really was, and a lot of people don't give Scott enough credit. The man did a lot for Master Universe, and we do have to recognize that. People have just continued to say, "Why do you support Scott?" I don't support Scott, but you just have to understand the man really did put his heart and soul into this brand, and really worked with the Four Horsemen, who arguably as well were pushing for it, right? But if it wasn't for someone as high up as and he's not an executive, he was just a project manager, what have you, but he was a voice which said, no, this is going to work and we should take a chance at this. And you know what, by his own, as we can only take it, by his own telling of the tale, he's the one who really put Matty Collector and made it into a viable product where people could order online, pre-order these things, get these things as a pre-orderable product, which I suppose in a sense is also kickstarting. There I go again. Is also crowdfunding to a certain degree. But as far as a notable requirement, and if you will, a minimum required order, right, to get this thing into production, I personally think that Castle Grayskull is one of the biggest things, or one of the first multi-billion-dollar corporate crowdfund projects to first get its start, and really sort of give other companies the idea that this is actually something possible, right?
Even before that, I just want to say, like, this is part of the Motu Classics line. That entire line essentially was like pretty innovative in the sense that you had to subscribe, and like it was the same kind of thing. If they didn't have subscribers, Mattel wasn't going to do it.
Yeah, you're furthering my point where I did mention that even that in and of itself is sort of a crowdsourced project, right?
Yep.
In and of itself. But I think but getting a little bit ahead of what we're talking. Sorry, along those lines though, because you're right. That's exactly what I believe as well. But this one is one of those ones where they literally went to a group of people and said, if you don't do this, it's never gonna happen. This is a dream project. You know what I mean? Those were the types of words that were being tossed around at the time. And I didn't even know about this project, and I'm talking about it even to this day. Castle Grayskull really was one of the first ones, as far as I can remember. I can't really think of anything this big, costing as much as it did. Brick, what was the Adam? I'm trying to. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was
Look it up.
$350, I think, or like it was an expensive project even back then. Like today, it's even. Does anybody actually have the actual number? I think it was. Actually, you know what? Let's I have the so
I'm looking it up too.
No, there it is.
Yeah,
There it is. I found it. So Big Bad Toy Store.
250.
Yeah. Oh, 250. I thought it was
Originally.
more. I thought it was. Hold on. Let me just.
According to Adam at Battleram blog.
Okay, so Adam at Battleram blog.
True historian.
Absolutely. I thought I have the article here from thefoosh.com, and I don't know. It's probably going to confirm that. Let me just double check. So F2.
While you're looking at that, it just
there you go. It's right here. It's right here.
Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely right. Yes. The price of the Castle Grayskull playset is $250 plus all applicable shipping and taxes. Well, that's the other thing. There was no free shipping back then. So shipping this thing was not cheap. It's probably very similar to how much it would have cost Super 7 today. So I would imagine this was $75 to $100 to ship as well. So
there's no free shipping now either. There's just very cleverly hidden shipping.
Yeah. Okay, true. But you are absolutely right. Battleram blog was correct. $250 to kickstart there we go. To crowdsource this thing, but probably an additional $75 to $100 to ship it. So, we're still on. If you want to hop in, so basically, this is as expensive today if you include the possible shipping. All right, so basically, and that's why I brought up Big Bad Toy Store, because Big Bad Toy Store had it up for sale for $399 initially, and as we know, they tack on additional costs for the retail space. Correct. So basically, I'm going to guesstimate on $350 for the Kickstarter because of the shipping. Does that sound about right? What do you guys think?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Probably
so that's not far. That's not far off from where we are today. You know what I mean? Like a comparable idea would have been what was Eternia? If we're going to talk apples to apples here, what was Eternia at right now?
Mattel Creation. Remember. Let's see.
Mattel Creation still has it listed, so let's check it out. Mattel Creation.
I'll check it out real quick. $550.
US?
Yep.
Oh wow. Okay. I thought that was the Canadian price. Let me just okay, $550.
800 Canadian.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy when you think about it. But again, this being a very niche market for them, it's incredible that they even got this off the ground, right? And I think that even back then, $250 was considered astronomical, right? This was what, 2010, 2012, something like that. It was in the early 2000s, and it, again, as both of you said, Adam, Brick, people made this happen, right? It took a while, but people actually did muster up the funds and the passion to do this but it had a lot of help along the way. I mean, Pixel Dan got involved, a lot of creators who were just like small channels, blogs, like I said, the Foosh, right? Robo over there as well, right? All those guys, Veebs, they were all involved in actually trying to push for this thing. I mean, if this article alone shows you exactly how, like, they were showing this at San Diego Comic-Con. Again, Scott was instrumental in putting this all together. They talked about everything that was required. Minimum pre-order required by October 16th of 2012. That was right, to November 10th of 2012. Right. If cannot stress enough that the minimum order must be met during this time for the castle to go into production. If the minimum is met, the production period will go through to January 3rd of 2013. The price of the castle is $250 plus all applicable taxes. You will not be charged. Now, here's the difference. Here is the difference. And this is something that is interesting. Here, in this particular Kickstarter, in this particular crowd, I got to stop that. In this particular crowd, your credit card will not be charged until the castle ships. That has completely changed for Mattel Creations. Mattel Creations now charges you the moment you order, you put your pre-order down. That is a well-known fact right now, right? If whatever they're crowdsourcing right now, you are charged immediately. But back in the day, right, to just get people to try and back this thing, they actually promised that you will not be charged until the castle ships, and that is a huge risk. That is, I cannot stress enough. Adam, you can speak to this too. I cannot stress enough how risky that is. I mean, you basically are saying, asking on a promise for all these people to actually say, I promise by putting my credit card down right now that I will back this project. And then basically Mattel saying, okay, well, we believe you. We're gonna we're gonna put this up. We're gonna put the money up for this, right? And we hope that by the time it comes around, you will honor your promise, and then we can charge you on the day. But between that 1 year, that whole freaking year, I'm well within my rights to cancel my order. That's just the way that it works in the United States, right? And even in Canada, I'm well within my rights to cancel it, right? Whereas someone like Spiro Toys, if you don't get that money, when the Kickstarter ends, you are and you decide to just promise all these people, yeah, we're going to make this thing, and as long as we have your credit card, we're not going to charge you until the day we ship it. That is just a massive amount of risk. I mean, guys, what are your thoughts on this huge endeavor that Mattel took on and even promised that the very one of the very first, as I said, if not the first billion-dollar company to actually say, yeah, we will back this thing and we will produce it without any money down, because that's actually what they did. Anybody want to go first?
I mean, if we're going back to specifically the Castle Grayskull, I think for its time, yeah, you're absolutely right to point out what a big deal this was. And I think, again, as I kind of mentioned earlier, the entire revival of the Masters of the Universe line as Motu Classics was kind of, on this sort of subscription basis where essentially everything was done like you say, like a pre-order, right? And if they didn't hit MOQ, they didn't get the minimum required pre-orders and or subscriptions, then those figures just weren't going to get made. And if you mentioned Scott Knightlake, if you've ever listened to his sort of director's commentary, where he kind of runs down like every single character as well as like broader ones covering the whole line, it was real clear that there was this sort of internal tension on the part of Mattel of like, hey, like if you really want to do it. It seemed like something that it wasn't, like at first a full-on like embraced company project, and then it was, they had real clear limitations budget wise, and we're like, that's where the pre-order and the subscription come in. If you don't make it, then we're just not going to do this stuff. And so to then move into the play set, right, that was a huge deal, because now you've got the people who are already identified as being into it with the subscriptions and the pre-orders for all the figures, and then I think a couple of different by that point vehicles. Now you're going to ask them for several $100s to make this thing. Now here the difference here, I think, is, like we said, sorry, let me back up. I'll go back to my earlier point about why these companies do these things, because you've now essentially identified however many hardcore fans that are willing to give you money in advance to subscribe to hypothetical figures that you're going to be putting out. Like, they're putting down their money every month. Like, I'm committed to you, Mattel, to be a Masters of the Universe fan so that you can make Masters of the Universe characters for me to take home. Like, that's part of the value of this thing. And then once you have that, it becomes less risky to attempt things like, hey, would you guys be interested in a whatever we said, $300 or $250 gigantic play set, right? It becomes less risky because you already know, you've already had X amount of people. You have their names, you have their addresses, you have everything. And they're already committed and they've bought all the figures. Well, of course, they're more likely to actually buy the play set. I mean, to me, again, this is just laying out the logic of why a Mattel and then later a Hasbro would want to do this kind of stuff. But anyway, that's all I have to say about the sort of Castle Grayskull piece.
Jay, you're muted.
Yeah, so sorry about that, guys. Allison, I just wanted to address this. You must have a great bank, because I did not get a chargeback on my card. Like Castle Grayskull is gone. Like, sorry, Eternia that money's gone. It has not come back to my account. I'm not sure what I'm not sure what arrangement your bank has, or
I think she meant with that sort of the Castle Grayskull version, because I think,
I think we misspoke
at some point it
actually.
changed.
Okay,
right?
okay.
No, I think we misspoke, because I don't believe you got charged immediately for even.
No, but she's saying Mattel Creations. She's not saying.
I don't remember that being that they charged immediately. The difference was no, that's the big deal about why Super 7. A lot of people were struggling with Super 7s, because Super 7 charges you immediately
right away. Yeah.
But Hasbro and Mattel don't.
No,
they don't let that charge sit. So it doesn't. They don't take that money until it was until I believe until the thing ended. I don't know if they did the early birds too, but so. All she's talking about there is they do a pre-authorization.
Yeah, which and then she says it drops off and returns to your card if they do not complete the charge.
Meaning it's a pre-authorization. So if they don't then go in and say yes, this isn't, like, they just are checking to see that this is an actual card or whatever, and we'll do a pre-auth.
No, I know, but and this is what I want to clarify. If it does actually successfully fund, they do take out the funds.
They do, and that's not what she's saying. She's saying if the business does not complete the charge, not that if the crowdfund ends, it's only they pre-authorize if they don't.
But for the wording on the wording here specifically says that they will not charge you until it ships, right? So that's a very completely different. That's very much in the Hasbro model. The Hasbro model. They do a small charge. It's like $2 or whatever. I know that. I've got that. And then they put it back afterwards, but then they don't actually do anything until it actually ships. And again, that's a huge risk. That is a massive risk, right? And Allison, you're not wrong. That's exactly what they do today. They will do a small charge, and if the project doesn't fund, they return all the money back to you, whatever, right? But Mattel Creations actually today, Mattel Creations actually takes out the whole thing, and then if it doesn't fund, they put it back. Because right now, if you backed Eternia, that money's gone. Like everyone, like myself and a lot of people have said the same thing. Yeah, that money's. Oh,
I see what you're saying. You're keying in on the idea of it shipping, right? You're saying them. Yeah, gotcha. I think Alice. That's not what Allison was saying. Yeah. Gotcha.
And again, sorry. What was that? What was that, Adam?
Well, I'm saying it's not like. Clearly one of these didn't work out. Clearly, like the promise that people will follow through with the payment didn't work out, which is why Kickstarter charges your card, at the end of the campaign. And, Hasbro charges your card, the day after the HasLab campaign. And Mattel Creations, I don't know, but I think that's sort of their kind of operating as well. Super 7 is kind of the exception, where if you back one of these projects, you hit that button and they charge your card and they hold on to that money. And if it doesn't fund, they refund you.
Yes.
But most of them, they say, here's the date we will charge your card.
Yeah.
And after that, it's like locked in. And with Kickstarter, I think people kind of misunderstand what Kickstarter is, because you're effectively, like you said, Jay, you're an investor in the project. And your reward for being an investor is, whatever you've backed, right? But it's not a pre-order, and I think that I won't go any further with that. But I think speaking to this Mattel Castle Grayskull not charging you until the product ships. I think since then, something went a little bit sideways, and they realized that is not the way to do it, because that is not the way that anybody does it anymore.
No, absolutely. But the question as well was, so actually, you just answered it. Yes, 100%, because no one does that anymore. But the implications of that, and the whole idea that they were the first ones to even try that risk, and it was a huge risk, right? Because people, as I said earlier, I could cancel 5 months in and say, no, you know what, I changed my mind, right?
Well, I disagree somewhat, because I actually think that it's less risky than just putting that product to market and hoping that there's an audience and hoping that there's a customer for it. What they were effectively doing was market research on a public platform saying, how many of you, if we make this, how many of you would spend $250 on it?
Yeah. Agreed. However, we're talking about, and you know, that's what you're absolutely saying 100%. If you were to put out the Millennium Falcon and just put it into market, you literally are saying, all right, we're going to trust the market to go buy these things. 100% is what you're saying. But we're talking about Castle Grayskull here, a property they abandoned, and this was the whole idea. When you really go back to the history of this, the Master Universe brand had literally dropped off for nearly 7 years around that point, right? Because 2000X had just literally sort of kind of got brought a small market back, but completely failed in the toy department. It was a hit cartoon, if to a certain degree, but the toys failed for whatever reason, mainly because they probably didn't know how to put them in stores properly. There was a whole bunch of things behind that, and then here comes the Four Horsemen saying, "Hey, we think we can actually just revive the original Master Universe if we do them specifically for adults." And then basically everybody in the Mattel was like, "Do you think you can really do this?" And here comes Scott Knight and said, "I want to work on this 24 hours a day. I will dedicate myself to this, blah, blah, blah." And again, that's the kind of credit we have to give to Scott. Not that he created the line, not that he, did, all these things and worked his magic and was the one who actually did it. No, what we got to give credit to the man is that he actually put in the work to keep it going. I think that's really where we have to give him credit. And then to actually come in and say, let's make a play set. Let's make Castle fucking Grayskull. And then he's like, yeah, but the tooling is going to cost us $2, maybe even $3 million alone. How the hell are we going to cover that? And he says, well, we'll let the people make sure that we cover it, right? And then they said, if we were to do this in retail, we would have to charge at least $200 for this thing, right? And they're like, you want to trust people to do this, you're going to have to do at least an MOQ of this at a price of $250. And that, again, just up, right? So then now you're literally asking people to fund this thing on a promise. And to even get that across the line, to really get the extra incentive going, you say, we're not even going to charge your card until it ships. That is a huge risk because you're not even taking in any money. You know what I mean? There's, like, as you said, it's probably riskier to put it to market, right? But in this sense, you are literally looking on a promise of a small amount of people who are just subscribers to this thing. So you're instead of, and think about it, let's just put it in this, like, instead of putting it to a possible market of 10 to 20,000 people, right? Maybe even 50,000 people, you're actually asking only maybe 10,000 subscribers, maybe, because I don't know the actual numbers on how many subscribers there were, but you're literally saying these people are going to promise us, and it's a small shallow market of 10,000 to just even, please back this thing, and we promise we'll get it to you, right? I think the risk at that point for Mattel was absolutely astronomical, and they actually they actually took a risk on this. It actually was massive, and we do know, as you said, Adam, that people did drop off. People did not follow through with that. Big Bad Toy Store, and bringing this graphic back up. This is true. Big Bad Toy Store had a fire sale. They could. Oh, wrong one. Big Bad Toy Store actually had a fire sale on this. Where the hell did I put it? I am a professional. This price $399. They couldn't. They knocked it down to $349 on the final fire sale. And from what I understand, this is just the final thing. But apparently, on the last few days where they really couldn't move anything, it actually dropped another $100. They literally had to get rid of these things, and I missed out on that sale because I'm kicking myself even today. They were holding on to so many of these things because, again, Big Bad Toy Store buys in a lot of bulk to get some major discounts, right? So this is the idea that this experiment, if you will, it wasn't all roses and sunshine, no matter which way we cut it. And then that leads us to today. I guess from 2012, then we got about 2015, 2016. When was the sail barge first offered? Let's see. I wonder if it actually has the date here. And of course, I don't have the damn thing. Let me just bring it up here. Hasbro Pulse. All right,
I'm going to say 16.
2016.
I'm gonna guess. That's my guess.
Okay, let's find out.
If 15 and 16 are my options,
Let's find out.
I'm gonna guess. 16.
Let's check out the HasLab and let's see when.
I'm not putting money on it, but
all right. So the very first project for the HasLab was, let's see here. See, it was shipped in 2019, but I believe it was. Well, let's play the video because the video will tell us what it was. Okay, quiet. Of course, it doesn't say it. Here it is. There it is. Jabba Sail Barge, the Katana will ship. Estimated ship dates 28. Jabba Sail Barge behind the workbench 4/4/2018. Okay, that doesn't tell us anything. Hold on, where is it here? There were. Okay, I think it was closer to 2018. Looking at some of the 20. Oh, what the heck? Beth, hey, what the hell? Why is it
I mean, about a year to get it to market. That's more or less what they've done with the most recent ones. So that makes sense, right? Like if it was delivered in 2019, that 2018 would be.
Yeah, I'm just gonna check.
There you go. I mean, the update number 1 is 2018.
Yeah, December 12th. So yeah, let's just say 2018, sometime in 2018. So that's what is that? 6 years removed, right? From 2012 to 2018. So here comes Hasbro Pulse. And let's not get this twisted. This did not do well in terms of an actual Kickstarter. It wasn't until the last few days where it actually finally got over the hump of 5,000 backers, which was its target. And they didn't actually list how many backers they finally received. But it's my guesstimation they only received maybe 6,000 backers, maybe I'm being generous at that. I don't think this did compared to what we're used to now for HasLab. I don't think this did very well. But it was the first inklings of what's possible. But look at the price. Castle Grayskull was $250 in 2012. Fast forward 6 years, and the Katana is $499.99. Now, there's a lot of plastic in the Katana. The Katana is a lot of freaking plastic. It opens up, has multiple guns. It's got those big sails. It's got a lot of things going for it. Compared to Castle Grayskull, if you really dumb it down, I mean, Castle Grayskull has it opens up. It's got an elevator. It's got, multiple floor attachments. It's got a drawbridge. It's got a secret entrance. It's got a monitor station. It's got a trap door. It's got all the things you want from Castle Grayskull. But $250 compared to $499 before shipping. Guys, what are your thoughts? Was this too much money to ask for this, or at 5,000 backers, right? Were they hedging their bets? Like what are we looking at here exactly? I mean, nobody wants to take a stab at it.
Well, in hindsight, right? Like, what's this thing going for now? Like $3,000?
It fluctuates, but I think let's just do anecdotally again. Let's just do an eBay.com. Let's do a Katana. Oop, what the heck? Star Wars Katana. Yep, there it is.
I mean,
Katana.
Yeah.
And we'll go to sold items. Never go by what these things are. They're just misleading. Let's see here. Sold items. Yeah, of course that's the one. No, I don't want to see any of those. Here we go. Whatever, man. That's the box. The box sold for $50. All right, here it is. Complete. Sold on December 18th, 2023. $2,850.99 plus $177.92 shipping, roughly about $3,000. Exactly. You are right on the money there, Adam. $3,000 for the Katana in box, brand new.
So it's the market's changed. Things have changed, right? The crowd sourced funding for these big projects has kind of changed how people look at these projects as well. It was also the landscape of toy collecting has changed over the past 4 years.
Very interesting. Yeah.
We don't need to get into why or what happened in that 4-year span, but I think, a lot of people are looking at this now and thinking, if I could get that for $500, I would get it instantly, right?
Well,
because of what you said, it's huge. We'd never had anything like that was that good. This was a dream project. This was, without a doubt, a dream project. This was not something that was ever going to be in retail. This would be an aisle of your local Target or Walmart or whatever. They could fit one on the shelf, which means it's not going to happen, because the retailer is going to look at you like you got a $500 item that's not a TV, and you're going to put it where? In the toy aisle? Like, no, thanks. Easy pass. It was the only venue that they could have brought this to market, right?
Arguably, this is the exact same thing with Castle Gray. Have you seen the box of Castle Grayskull? It is ridiculous. Like in terms of what it actually is, it's huge.
I do not disagree.
And you're absolutely right. You cannot put that. Neither of these two items could have possibly been at retail. It's impossible. Making them both dream projects, right? Brick, what are your thoughts on this?
Couple of things. I mean, if we're going to be comparing Castle Grayskull and the Katana, the established fan base of Masters of the Universe compared to the established fan base of Star Wars, huge. The established collector market for Motu versus Star Wars. We're talking about a property that had existed in 1977 that started the game for like collecting, right? Huge. They're just vastly different. And so when I think about the people who actually ended up buying these are also people who had Star Wars collections already, right? And they're just like, this is just one of many other pieces that they're going to add to their collection. And at that time, Star Wars, it was very different than it is now. So that's the only, like, I just want to point that out, because I think some folks are also pointing out, like, well, yeah, it wasn't like classic Snake Mountain like $600. It was. And again, I don't know how many of those they actually produced and sold versus, what does this say? Like the target was 5,000 and however many after that. And so, there's all sorts of other pieces to that too. This is 2019 when it shipped, and then it was revealed in 2018. That was the same year that The Force Awakens came out, right? A couple years after Star Wars was bought by Disney. So there was a lot of steam there and a lot of question marks as to what was going to happen. And this was from the Return of the Jedi, right? So there's just a lot of those pieces to think about when you're comparing the prices of things, I want to say. And then, I think that's the main thing I want to, I've seen this thing and it's glorious. Like I can't imagine anyone actually owning it. It blows my mind. The only time I've ever seen it are in people who own shops have it in their shop. I've never actually seen someone who's like, well, maybe I just don't know the right class of people, I guess, because no one I know has the room for this. And it's like, hey, come to my house and check my katana. But anyway, that's all I think I have to say about the katana.
On that, on the two versions though, and today's perceptions, once again, like given time, right? We're looking at these things, but as we're all looking at this, we have to talk about how, we have to keep in mind the idea that when you're purchasing things, you're purchasing them at the time, or backing them. Let's just say backing them at the time and the price at that stage. And a lot of people are going to say, and you know what, Mike over at Tiberium Hanger says it all the time. He says, I look at this at $599 and I don't see $599. I see $1,200, right? When he's buying it. a lot of people don't think that way. A lot of people look at this at the $500 price, right? And you know what? Time does tell what these things eventually go for in the long run. But also, time does change things quite a bit. At one point, Castle Grayskull was going for about $2,000, and now you can probably find one mint in box for around 1,200. Maybe $1,000, $1,200, right? Again, the market does. But why did that happen? Well, Mattel decided to bring out a brand new set of Master Universe figures. You know what I mean? Like upgrading them, putting them like the Masterverse figures are now starting to replace the classics figures, and there's a lot of arguments towards how that works. But a lot of people have actually started selling off their, Geek Dead Life has talked about it, that a lot of classics collectors have started selling off their collection to replace them with Masterverse, and a lot of people will scoff at that, which is true. It does tend to happen, but sometimes people want the bigger and newest, the shiny new toy, right? It does seem to do that, and the market fluctuates on that level. Will the katana ever come down in price? Actually, it has. The katana has gone in multiple waves. If you find it at the right price, you can probably get it down. But has it actually gone lower than $1,000? Honestly, I've never seen that. I've never seen it ever go down past $1,000. So in terms of investment for money, maybe it was a good price. I don't collect for value. A lot of us don't, right? Again, we're going to laugh at that whole situation there, right? But that doesn't negate the fact that it actually did happen, and this actually led to, I guess, what you will call the whole idea of continual HasLabs. And one of the HasLabs that nobody talks about anymore, Hasbro refuses to talk about it, but not for the reasons a lot of people think about. The Cookie Monster. Cookie Monster was HasLab's second Kickstarter, HasLab. And Adam, do you have any comment? Do you know about the Cookie Monster? Both of you, do you guys know about the Cookie Monster Kickstarter?
Just
HasLab project.
Just know that it didn't. It didn't.
It didn't fund.
Yep.
Correct.
Beyond that, I don't know much else.
It did not fund. And any thoughts as to why?
Oh, I have no idea. I mean, I could have thoughts, but I don't.
You don't even want to hazard a guess? Like any thoughts?
I mean, I would just think, like, again, let's go to what I said between Motu and Star Wars. Like, Star Wars has an established fan base who, like, just knows something comes out with Star Wars on it, I buy it. Like, there are those people. I don't know that's the same for Sesame Street.
Yeah. I mean, it's a cool idea, right? Like anybody that grew up with Sesame Street, like everybody grew up with Sesame Street. But does that mean that there's a market for this product? Hasbro said, we don't know. Let's put it out there and make it, let people decide by making it a HasLab, right?
Mm-hmm.
It also
ultimately the demand wasn't there, so it didn't get made.
And this leads us to the whole concept of what is a Kickstarter to $1 billion company? Oh, sorry, a crowdsource. I keep saying it. What is a crowdsourced project to $1 billion company? And I think that really is telling. What is a crowdsourced project to $1 billion company? You know what in my opinion, and this is again just my opinion, a crowdsourced project to $1 billion company is a guarantee that they will not be losing any money on that project. Because it is the cost of what? A bit of development, a bit of manpower in terms of marketing, maybe a little bit of maybe even a bit of ideas for consulting on tooling and dyeing with with their already established partners. But in essence, it is not $6 million in tooling. Do you know what do you see what I'm trying to say? It's not. It's a guarantee that, okay, we're going to spend maybe, let's just go on the high end. We're going to spend $100,000 on this idea, right? For them, that's a drop in the bucket, right? Instead of actually going straight to production and saying, hey, we're going to put this to the market, Cookie Monster, for collectors. It's going to cost us, just on tooling alone, $6 million. But we're pretty sure the market's going to react, and everyone wants a $300 Cookie Monster collectible. I can't remember what the actual price was. Actually, you know what? Let's just do a really quick look at this. How much did Cookie Monster actually go for? They were asking, yeah, $300. Shit, they were asking $300 for Cookie Monster. Wow.
Which is, I mean, it's probably reasonable though, right? Like this is like a, it's a it's a 1-to-1 scale Cookie Monster. I mean, it's a pretty ambitious product in terms of like, you know, what you're getting. It's 4 feet tall, and it's, but again, like, were there people sending letters to Hasbro requesting this? Like, how does it? How did that sort of play out? Why did they pick Cookie Monster over Elmo? I mean, the Tickle Me Elmo sold millions of units, and this didn't sell 3,000, right? So who knows? I mean, it's a totally different game, but it's democratic, right? Like you put it out there and people go, no, we're not interested, and you go, okay, well, we're not going to make it. Jay, like you said, I mean, the investment on the project is marginal, really, for Hasbro, because it is a $1 billion company. And I think the other thing is that, you know, a failed HasLab project is like a very public kind of failure of a product. But what you don't see is all the people in market research and all the sculptors and like a whole bunch of people in the offices that sort of go through this process with hundreds, if not thousands, of projects that just don't make it to market, right? Like, the difference here is that this is big, right? Like the as you said, you know, the tooling costs for one of these things, and this has been discussed by other people too, where, you know, as the scale of the item gets bigger, the tooling gets bigger, and the cost isn't like, you know, if the product's twice as big, the tooling's twice as much. There's kind of like a threshold where tooling becomes oversized, and then it becomes considerably more expensive. And so these are things that you're also not going to get to reuse this tooling in most cases. For most of these projects now, I think that's changed recently. When you look at something like the Hiss Tank, there's potential to do different versions of the Hiss Tank, for example, where they can recoup some of that cost if they can make another version of it down the line. But I mean, were you going to make another version of Cookie Monster? To the best of my knowledge, there's not a Crimson Strike Team Cookie Monster where you can reuse this mold. Jab only had one sail barge. You're not going to sell people Force, 2 sail barges. Once you have one, you're good. You're covered. And so that tooling is not going to get used again. So that's where the idea of using it once and using it effectively, it becomes much more important. And that's why I don't hold it against a $5 billion company to ask people whether or not they want this.
Yeah.
Rick?
Yeah, the Cookie Monster one's a weird one. To maybe backtrack a little bit, I also want to say that the Katana, even though you rightfully said Castle Grayskull was that real first big crowdfunding, the Katana was Hasbro's first attempt, right? And so that was also kind of I think a factor in that for whatever reason. And so that worked. And then was Cookie Monster next?
Yes.
Oof. Yeah. So,
like, right on the heels too.
It's such a weird set of decisions to go from, hey, Star Wars, again, massive like installed base of collectors who spend ridiculous amounts of money, to, hey, what about Cookie Monster? You're muted. Sorry.
And it wasn't a runaway success either. It was actually not like they just barely reached that 5,000 and maybe a couple of hundred more.
Sure. Yeah. What a trip. Like, yeah, that, and you know, that's been the case with HasLab too. Like throughout, sometimes I'm kind of like, that's a thing, but you know, but what do I know? Like sometimes, I'm completely wrong. Many times I'm completely wrong, but with HasLabs in particular, sometimes things just go a lot faster than I would have assumed. So I don't know. Again, it brings us back to this whole concept of, I think, why they're doing it.
Yeah, and the other interesting thing was it's not like a property which they actually own the IP with. I mean, you could argue the Star Wars is definitely, especially at the time, was not something that they were really entrenched with. They still had to really have a license for that. Cookie Monster was the same thing. That was a very licensable product, and actually one of the reasons why it no longer shows up on any HasLab sites or terminology. And not that they wanted to forget it, but actually because they don't have the rights to it anymore, right? That's actually the reason, the real reason why it didn't happen. It should also be noted that it was a fully articulated Cookie Monster. You could actually use it as a full puppet. It really was. I know that we're running really late into the night. I did want to cover a few more things just before we log off. Unicron was the very next project right after the Cookie Monster, and this was another one where I really had to scratch my head. There was no pre-announcements on this. They didn't give it and this was the one that really kind of like made you wonder what the heck is going on with Hasbro. And they tend to do this a lot. There's really no lead up. They don't give you enough lead time to consider any of these stupid crowdsourced projects. Usually when you're talking about purchases of $200 to $300, maybe even $400, maybe even $650, you think you'd give people a year's head notice for that.
Yeah.
That's not the case with these Kickstarters. I mean, I keep saying it, with these crowdsourced projects. A lot of times they literally are giving you only a month, maybe even just a few weeks, and that's exactly what happened.
Weird.
That's exactly what happened with Unicron. Unicron was announced only 2 weeks before San Diego Comic-Con. It was I know because I was preparing for my trip to San Diego for the very first time to go to Comic-Con, and that's when they dropped the bombshell on everybody saying, guess what? We're creating Unicron. My tiny little mind blew itself up because I just spent thousands of dollars to get to freaking Comic-Con, and now they're putting out a Kickstarter, which I absolutely had to have, and I basically wrote it off. I said, no, I'm not going to do this. I can't do it. I can't afford this freaking Unicron, which at the time was $399 US.
Do they give you like a month or so? What did they give you?
They give you the standard 1.5 months.
Okay.
They gave us the standard
about 40 days.
Yeah, around that. I call it 1.5 months. And this one basically came and bit them in the ass. They did not make it. They did not freaking make it. And I was like, I was watching it carefully. I was watching the hours go by, and I said, no, it's not going to make it. They didn't give it enough time. They didn't give people enough time to save for this thing, because again, people have just gone to Comic-Con. Does anybody like again? Have you ever, for those of you who do not live in California, like Brick, going to Comic-Con is a very expensive thing. The hotel costs alone are in the thousands. Yeah. Okay, to stay there just a couple of nights. All right, I stayed the whole week. All right, so I spent thousands of dollars to be there. All right, so there was no way I was going to be able to do it. I literally wrote it off. I was like, okay, no problem. It's not going to happen.
But we counter argument.
Sure.
If they gave you 6 months,
but your counter argument came true, Adam. Your counter argument. First of all, finish your counter argument.
Yeah, that was a weird extended.
Well, would anything else come up in that time frame? You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, like the idea of like, oh, if they had given us more time, if they had given us more notice, the reason that I ask that is because for a lot of collectors that I know, what they don't like about Kickstarters or about HasLabs or whatever is like, I don't have enough time, and it's sort of like and they'll complain about pre-orders, and then they'll complain about like, well, all these pre-orders are coming up and now they're all due, and it's sort of like, do we ever have money? Do we ever have enough money for all this stuff? Like, is there a time where we're like, man, I've got so much, I'm flush with cash. What can I drop $500 on right now? I just don't think that's the reality. If you're a toy collector, let's be honest. If you're a toy collector, you're never like, where did I get all this extra money? You're kind of like you're constantly spending what you have available. Hopefully, you're only spending what you have available, and you're not sort of going into the red. But I don't think there's a good time for these. I don't think that there's a time frame where if you went, okay, we're going to give you 3 months notice before we go live with this Kickstarter or with this project, and then you're going to have 2 months to deal with it, right? You're going to have 2 months to come up with the money. So you're getting 5 months or whatever. Like if it was 30 days, if it was 3 days, if it was 3 years, it wouldn't really make a difference. So I think they're trying to fine tune. Everybody's trying to fine tune. What's the threshold? Like what's the time period that gives people enough time to kind of rationalize how much, their credit card is about to get charged, versus like, if we leave it too long, do people just lose interest? Because I think that's the reality. I think given enough time, we can all come to the conclusion that none of this is a good idea financially. I'll be perfectly honest. This is all want-based. No, we don't need any of this stuff. I say this all the time. Okay, this is all want-based. None of it is need-based. You don't need the sail barge. You don't need a his tank. You don't need a cyberzoic dinosaur. You probably need Animal Warriors of the Kingdom figures. That's the exception. But other than that, like it's I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's like I said, 3 days, 3 months, 3 years. Yeah. I got better things to spend my money on.
Okay, so that's a wonderful argument, right? That's a wonderful argument. But the truth is, when people want something, they make it happen.
Right? And that's what I'm saying.
It's true. It's true. But in the case of Unicron, it was thinking back on it, I was actually closer to $500 plus shipping. Okay, it was a huge. It was more expensive than the Katana. I know that. It was ridiculous.
Someone listed it in the chat, actually.
Yeah, it was ridiculously expensive. I think I saw it.
$575.
Yeah, right here. It was $575.99. That's a mortgage payment. Okay, that is something where you have to move your money around. Okay, that is that was huge money. That is
you got to figure it out,
right? And that's exactly what happened. 2 weeks into Comic-Con, a lot of your fan base lives in the San Diego in the San Diego area. Or at least in that state. A lot of people who are fans live in that state, right? It caught everybody off guard. It was something that people just were not ready for it, and it reflected in its overall campaign. And the thing is that I think a lot of people wanted it, and actually said so in the actual campaign itself. They were making comments over that they needed the time to get it done. It was just a weird time that it was happening. And what happened? Literally a week before the campaign was to end, they extended it not 1 month, not 2 months. They extended it 3 freaking months, a whole 3 months on top to get. And you know what? I have my theories on that. My prevalent theory is that Takara was going to do it anyway. Takara was already ready. They were going to say, no, fuck it. We're doing it ourselves. Like, fuck you guys. They were literally going to do it because, again, they'll say, we'll pay the license. Just give it to us and we'll do it. Because they're in partnership with Hasbro. So Hasbro was about to have egg on their face. And they're like, screw it. We cannot let this fail. Let's make it happen. And then they made it happen. And mysteriously, the counter stopped counting. After a certain amount of time, it hit like well over its needed amount, and they stopped counting at one point. And then I was like, you know what, the international backers, because China and Japan are crazy about Transformers, it probably blew the numbers out of the water. They were like, we don't want to tell everybody this was a major success because of what we're asking for. Backtracking a little bit, because I know we're short on time here. The Katana,
I gotta duck out in a couple minutes.
Yeah, the Katana at 3,000 units for 250. What was it? 299. 299 at 3,000 units is $8.97 million. Let me talk about that. $8,970,000 for to back that project. that is a guarantee that not only are you doing your tooling with that, you're also doing a pretty decent amount of profit on top of that. So there's a lot of things saying that these are dream projects for the fans, and that's always what they keep talking about. Fans first. Let's be honest, guys. There's no they do it for the fans, yes, but they do it because they know the fans will buy them. And the katana was proof concept for Hasbro, and they continue to do that. And that leads me to the final couple of things we want to talk about tonight. It's not all roses and sunshine for Kickstarter crowdsourced projects. There have been a ton of projects which have not hit their mark. Some notable ones, of course, let's just go through them really quickly. Have been, and you know what? To their credit, HasLab is good about this. They actually list the projects that do not fund. The first of which, of course, was Cookie Monster. That was the very first. The second one, which did not meet its funding goal, was the Black Series Rancor. And this, at the end, if it's actually poetic that the Rancor is sandwiched in between the two campaigns that ran parallel to it, literally virtually on top of each other. They decided to run 3 campaigns at the exact same freaking time. What kind of company does that? You're literally cannibalizing your market. I don't know if you guys knew about this or remember this, but they ran the G.I. Joe Sky Striker virtually at the same time as the Black Series Rancor. And then literally not even a month later, they decided to go ahead and run the Ghostbusters Proton Pack, literally cutting into 3 different fan markets, which are rabid fans and crossover fans for virtually these 3 different properties. Talk about cannibalizing your market. And of course, once the and here's how this worked out. The G.I. Joe Sky Striker decided to say, screw it, we're going in on all in on this. They decided to drop 3 additional figures on the initial offering, basically boosting their sales like tenfold, because literally it was dead in the water, the Sky Striker. And then as soon as the Rancor died, because it died a very horrible death, even after they decided to give a token offering of Malakili, because their other offerings were just absolutely horrid, and probably one of the major reasons why they didn't fund. As soon as the Rancor died, all of those multiple backers from that side just landslided over to the Sky Striker and helped to get that funded. And even then, the Sky Striker did not meet all of its goals. It actually missed Ketchup and Mustard by only shy by a few hundred backers. It was crazy, right? The Ghostbusters Plasma Pack, because of the value. Oh my God, the value on the plasma on the Ghostbusters Plasma Series pack is astronomical. If you actually know how much it costs to build a Proton pack, many of us, including Jay Geektied Life and Yes Have Some, we were thinking this thing was going to be $1,500. That was our initial thought on this thing. It ended up coming in at $399, and we were all blown away. We were like, Jesus, you have to buy this thing. If you don't buy this thing, you guys are missing out. It was just absolutely ridiculous. I just wanted to give that bit of a recap. And then, because I know we're short on time, shortly after the Rancor, the property which could do no wrong pretty much, because they were just hit after hit after hit, Sentinel, Galactus.
Oh, sure.
Those 2 back-to-back, absolute massive hits for Marvel. And it seemed like they could do no wrong. I'm trying to remember if there's any other ones. They decided to try their hand at a vehicle for the HasLab Engine of Vengeance, and I think the bottom fell out on this one. Actually, sorry, my apologies. The next one was actually the Reva lightsaber, completely dismally failed. It didn't even make not even anywhere near its initial goal. And they were hoping that I think this would be a tie-in with the television series. That did not work. So that one died a horrible death. And then, of course, the HasLab Engine of Vengeance. And this really did prove that you need to still know your market and understand your market, because these 2 were a raging success, and I think they were riding high on those coattails and completely missed the mark on this one. Celebrating, and here's the thing, celebrating the 60th anniversary of a character by giving us the most recent version of that character, who a lot of people in that 60th type of idea, who were in that bracket, sort of had no idea about who this character is. And basically asking, what was it again? I think it was a whopping $400 for this thing. 400, or was it 450? I can't remember. I think it was $400 for this thing. Absolutely astronomical price for a vehicle which has a top, a middle, and a bottom, and two, and a left and right sides. Absolutely crazy. Then, coming back to form again. I'm basically fast forwarding here because we are short on time. Then coming back to form, the Razor Crest was well before these. Huge riding on the coattails of the show. The Victory Saber, again, they know their market. A lot of people don't. A lot of people in the West don't really know what Victory Saber is, but Transformers fans are Transformers fans, and this was priced at an incredible price. Again, there are a lot of factors to HasLabs which a lot of people don't talk about. And now with major successes again, with coming back to form with the Marvel Legends Giant Man, of course the Cobra Hiss Tank, what a huge raging success. Following that up with the Dragonfly, another major success. The Transformers continued with the HasLab Deathsaurus, the Ghost completely blowing it out of the water for Star Wars, bringing it back to form after two failed HasLabs back to back. And then the final HasLab of recent memory, the Ghostbusters Plasma Series, 2 in a box, Ghost Trap. It's been it's been an interesting road for HasLab, but for the most part, they actually have been doing very, very well. And this leads me to the question, which I'll end off on for us for tonight. Myself bringing up the point that I think that, what are your thoughts, guys? Are these Kickstarters, especially now in this type of political climate, and forget the political climate, in the climate that we reach in, people are just having trouble buying food and paying for gas and, trying to pay for rent. Toys are a luxury. Toys are a luxury. And hundreds of dollars of toys in a single package. You know what I mean? Asking somebody for $300 freaking dollars for a toy. That's a huge luxury. In this climate that we're currently living in, is a Kickstarter, I keep saying, are crowdsourced projects more of a guarantee for companies to say, yeah, we can make $8 million on this thing if we get our minimum backing. And if it goes skyrocketing and gets 3 times the amount of backers, we're looking at a very happy end of the year for this particular project. Are we looking at the new staple for guaranteed sales for companies, billion-dollar companies, including Mattel, Hasbro, and Super 7? Like, is this possibly something that is self-fulfilling in terms of what they're looking for in terms of the actual sales?
You want me to speculate on how Hasbro views this model? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and try to change anybody's mind. I mean, everybody has their idea of whether or not Hasbro should do this the way that they do it. My personal opinion is that, a company that is publicly, struggling to get the profits that they want to, why would they put out product that's not going to make the money? It's sort of, I mean, to me, it seems like the responsible way to source these projects.
Which is my point.
I don't, like I said, I don't, if there's not enough people to buy the product, then don't make it. That doesn't make sense. Right. And so that's my take on it. I mean, the projects that have succeeded, by and large, I think the with a couple exceptions, the projects that have succeeded pretty easily. Projects that had, a minimum requirement of 8,000 backers have hit 12, 14, 18,000 backers. And then the ones that have failed pretty badly, right? Like they've not been within a couple hundred. They've been 2,000 short of their goal. So to me, this makes sense. I think if they could do this with literally every product, I think they would, right? Like I think if there was a platform for them to do this for every toy that they make, they would 100%. But as I said before, Hasbro is not $1 billion company based on Star Wars Vintage Collection or Black Series or Transformers or whatever. They're a billion-dollar company based on all of the stuff that they do. And this is drops in the bucket. You mention, you calculate the numbers based on, okay, they sell a $300 product and they sell 10,000 of them. It's 1% of their annual. It's not, that's not the be all and end all. So it's a very different thing that we're talking about when you're talking about what Hasbro is doing versus what Spiro Toys is doing, or somebody similar. They're just using something that we as toy collectors are familiar with as the venue and as the platform and as an avenue to sort of get in the news cycles and so on and so forth. Brick and I are the same. Like, we lean way more heavily now into the indie stuff. I personally lean way more heavily into companies where, like, I want to support the people. Like, if there's sort of a situation where there's like two companies that are putting out a similar product or sort of two products that I'm into, I'll gravitate again to the project where the person seems like somebody that I want to support over, a person that I don't, or a company that I don't, or whatever. So, vote with your wallet. I agree with that statement, but the flip side of that is, like, don't tell people who are voting with their wallet that their vote doesn't count because they don't know anything. Like, you can't be you can't have democracy and then tell people that they can't vote a certain way. I don't get that. I just don't. I back the His Tank, I back the Dragonfly, but I also back the AWOC stuff. Like, back what you want. I mean, that's ultimately my 2 cents. But I gotta duck out. I gotta get to bed. I gotta get up and take a kid to gymnastics in the morning. So,
Adam, thank you for being here tonight. Truthfully, I want to thank both my guests, Highly Articulated, Brick Something. Adam, before you go, how can people reach you, and what are you working on right now?
Highly Articulated, I think on YouTube, look up Highly Articulated, and on Instagram, I think it's highly_articulated. I hang out, I talk about toys, and I have fun with it. That's what it's about, is having fun for me. So,
guys, definitely check out Highly Articulated on YouTube. Thank you so much, Adam, for being here tonight. Love your opinions. That's exactly what I was hoping to hear. Because, guys, the truth is, in closing for Adam, that the companies are just doing what the companies are going to do. I mean, they need to make money. They're not in the habit of not making money. And the thing is that, as much as a lot of people do say this, no, they're not our friends. They are here. They're here to give us a product which we want. At the end of the day, that's what matters. Adam, thank you so much. Have a great weekend. And of course, Happy New Year to my friend. We shall see you next time.
Good journey, everyone.
Good
see
journey,
you, man.
Huge thanks to Adam from Highly Articulated. Definitely, guys, give him a like and a follow and tell him Jay sent you.
Definitely.
Rick, I put it to you now. What are your thoughts? And I apologize. I do, I should have said it earlier. I do apologize if this particular round of question, because it was basically just the quick fire round, because I knew that Adam had to go. But realistically, I wasn't trying to direct it into this situation. It is just a question I do have. Like, in your opinion, do you think that that Hasbro could possibly use this as a barometer or some sort of indicator of what's working for them and what's not, and whether or not they're going to make guaranteed money off of these projects? Like, what are your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, I think that's ultimately the only reason to do it. I think no matter how you cut it, whether it's for market research or whatever, I think the end goal is, how do we minimize our risk and figure out how we can make the most money in the process? And so, yeah, I mean, the premise of what you're asking, the principle of what you're asking, and I think other people have brought it up tonight, of whether or not these, like, corporations who, these larger corporations, right? These corporations with like, whatever, ridiculous like budgets. Should they be engaged in the crowdfunding game? Is it for them versus your indies, right? Your startups, right? To go back to the root of crowdfunding, as you did, such a good job laying down the history earlier. Like if we're talking about on principle, like, yeah, no, I get it. Like I don't think that a Hasbro should be engaged. I just understand the logic as to why they're doing it. I just think the landscape has changed, as I've laid out before, and they're simply using this because they believe that this is the best way to do two things: minimize risk and use it as a way to like get the attention that they need built in, right? There's a built-in marketing campaign and attention and news cycle. There's built-in hype to doing things via a I was about to do it too, Jay. I was going to say Kickstarter, but via a crowdfunding campaign, right? There just is. There's a beginning, there's an end. You make big drama about it, like, oh, this is the one time. It's a dream project. Like, there's already that notion that, oh, this must be something special if they're crowdfunding it. I can't get it otherwise. There's a notion of, share it on social media, and there's a number, and you're tracking it, and you're checking it. Like, there's dorks like us who are going to talk about it and do a final countdown, right? It's at the end of the day, I'm not trying to be cynical, but I think that's a huge part of why they do that. They just know. And so what's the alternative? They somehow graciously agree, your Mattels and your Hasbro graciously agree, we will never crowdfund because we have the money in our we have the capital to do it. So that's not for us. Never going to happen. Do they somehow get barred from doing it? Okay, let's say that someone's actually regulating these corporations because they're not here. But let's say they are, and they just don't participate anymore for whatever reason. They're not allowed to participate. I don't know. That just seems like it's such an odd thing. I can't understand the logic. No, I guess I should say I would fully understand why Mattel and Hasbro and other similar corporations participate in it and don't opt not to, or would be frustrated if they were somehow told that they can't. Because then what? They're just going to sort of step aside and let these other companies eat into the action figure market with these brand new lines that, I mean, I'm for that. I support the AWACS. I support the combat creatures. Like I'm all about that. I support the Cyberzoics and the armies of Ashmore, like I actually have. But if I'm Hasbro and Mattel, like, wait, you're talking about people who are going to be reaching out to these people and they're going to give them more of their action figure budget and not to me? I don't know. Anyway, that's my take, Jay. And I would love to like address also some of the questions that people were asking earlier about just real quick. Like, do you guys support crowdfunds? And if so, which ones? Because I just think, it's kind of interesting and fun to sort of hear, like, have we actually engaged in them? I have a sense of what Adam has backed too. And, a lot of people shared in the chat what they've what they've shared, but curious, like, what are the ones that have attracted you enough to want to back?
You asking me personally, or
yeah. I mean, the people already listed it in the chat. I'm just kind of curious since we've never had this.
Okay, well, if you're asking me which ones I backed personally, well, like, what, let's just go through them because honestly, it's been hard for me to keep track. Okay, so
there was a no on Castle Grayskull, though, right? Let's go to the.
Unfortunately, it wasn't going to be a no. I wanted it, but I didn't even know at the time I wasn't collecting.
Gotcha.
I didn't even know, right? I mean, look over here. I mean, there it is. There's Snake Mountain, right? So
totally.
Obviously, there's the first one I ever backed, the Snake Mountain, right? But a quick second one that I backed on pretty much virtually the same time was, Unicron. Unicron was the second project I backed. I really wanted to back the Sentinel, but I just decided on not doing it, and I'm kicking myself because trying to buy one now is just stupid. So I didn't back the Sentinel. I didn't back Galactus. Again, another stupid idea. I didn't back the Razor Crest. Another a bit of a regret, but not really. I did end up. I tried to back the Rancor. It didn't work. I did back the G.I. Joe Sky Striker. I did back the Proton Pack because that's a dumb idea not to. Again, if knowing how much it costs to build one of these things, you need to back this thing. I did not even think about backing the Raven lightsaber. That was just me. I knew right away. If it doesn't spin, nobody's going to back it. So that was just not going to happen. I had no inclinations of backing the HasLab Engine of Vengeance. In my opinion, it should have been 2 bikes and a horse. That's the way I would have backed it. If it had been two bikes, two bikes and a horse celebrating the actual 60th anniversary of, and somebody I think pretty sure is going to tell me it's the 80th anniversary of Ghost Rider, then I probably would have been all in on it. Like seriously, two bikes, two bikes, a horse, and 3 different Ghost Riders. 100% I would have backed that thing day one, but I did not. I backed the HasLab His Tank. It's sitting right over there. Haven't opened it yet. I should.
A bunch of these, yeah.
I really should actually. Did not back Desaurus. Don't have enough love for the character. Actually, I missed one. I did not back Victory Saber. I did back the Dragonfly, of course. Why wouldn't you? It's wild, right out loud. I was so close to backing the Ghost, but it came down to the Ghost or Cat's Lair, and for a 100% fact, I'm backing that Cat's Lair. So it was definitely Cat's Lair. I was really thinking about Giant Man, and decided I don't, as much as I respect the character, I just don't have enough love for it. I'm not collecting Marvel Legends right now anyway, so it would have just been this useless purchase. And I will admit right now that yes, I did go for the 2 in a box. Why not? I already have
the what?
The 2 in a box. The 2 in a box. The PKE meter and the
gotcha. Okay, 2 in a box. Okay,
yeah, that's what they call it. They call the Plasma Series 2 in a box, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's actually
2 in a box.
2 in a box.
Sorry,
yeah.
I was hearing tuna box. Like,
yeah.
Anyways,
no,
gotcha.
2 in a box, and why not? I mean, I needed the Ghost Trap. I mean, that was a no brainer, right? So yes, I did back that one. On other projects, obviously there is,
Sure.
Snake Mountain. I already talked about Unicron. I definitely backed that, and what's it called? Eternia. I backed Eternia. And I guess the last one is Thundercat, the Cat's Lair. The Cat's Lair. So I have been a busy boy with was
the Thunder Tank
no, the Thunder Tank was not crowdsourced. The Thunder Tank was a buy project.
Okay. Cool.
How about yourself? What project did you?
So the only HasLab I've ever actually backed and followed through with was Galactus.
Great purchase, 100%.
And then, with the Indies, it's a completely different game. AWOC, Cyberzoic, Armies of Ashmore, Combat Creatures, Odious, Street Humans, but that didn't follow through. Savage Crucible. God, I can't wait for Savage Crucible. Let's see. What have I missed? Is that it? Maybe that's it. Oh, Meta Travelers. There was another name, but Meta Travelers, which was the 4 Horsemen produced ones by that company. And I think, did I say Odious? And Odious. Wade's figures. I think that's it. So it's like mainly the Indies, and one HasLab, and that's not at all like because of our conversation today in terms of like the corporation. It just happens to be like those are the lines that that I'm collecting. But also, actually, a huge factor aside from Galactus is that like everything you just named is gigantic. Yeah, everything I've named are action figures. Yeah, so like that's unfortunately just a reality for my situation. And God, I would love a Thundercat. The Cat's Lair. I would love all the Star Wars ones, man. But yeah, just not in the cards at this time. So
exactly. It really is dependent on your own collecting habits and what it is you feel as value. So
yep.
In in closing tonight's discussion, we'll take a few questions because there's it's already 4:26 a.m. over here. I'm pretty sure it's almost 1 a.m. over by where Brick is.
It's past 1 a.m.
Yeah, there you go. It's past, but it's like 1:26. In closing, or at least just putting everything in perspective. As you know, I back a lot of these projects, so I wasn't leading to any actual conclusions tonight. Tonight was a discussion. Tonight is actually just a discussion about, what is crowdsource? What is it supposed to be?
Right.
Is it supposed to be for independents to actually get that leg up that they need to get their dreams made? And now it's being used by corporations in a similar fashion, but to deliver products that people want. This is the key, right? And Adam eloquently put that together. We want these products. If we don't want them, like Cookie Monster, like the Rancors, again, that was a different situation. But the Cookie Monster, the Rava's lightsaber, and again, even the Engine of Vengeance, people want it. That's actually proof positive by Ramen Toy, who's in the chat. We know that people want that car. They want that car because almost 2,000 people have pledged to actually purchase a Ramen Racer.
I mean, there's a case where the market research was done by Hasbro and then handed over to
literally
to
handed over to Ramen Toy. Right? Congratulations to Ramen Toy. Right? But we do know that people want it. We know that people want it. It's just they didn't want it at that stupid price, right? And we know that they didn't want the Raven's lightsaber, and unfortunately, they didn't. People wanted the Rancor, but the price and the secondary tiers just seemed a little bit too much to ask.
Sure. Can I also say, sorry, not just because he's here, but I also want to point out that, like, I was joking about the market research to a certain extent, because what Ramen's actually giving is very different from
100%.
Like it's a versatile toy that can be a couple of different things.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Super smart. Just want to
100%.
name that.
Yeah, the Musk. The Musk is definitely going to be a very incredible diorama, and the same thing with the Ramen Racer. Like, so many different things that Ramen's doing, and of course Ramen's bringing things to the market which would never, in a lot of ways, would never have been brought to the market anyway.
Yep.
And of course, exactly, and of course we do know that not everything is a home run. I mean, the Cobra Mothership. Whether it was the price or whether it was just too obscure. I mean, we saw it every single episode that G.I. Joe ran. It's not like no one knew what it was. But is it what people want at this time, or is it what people can afford at this time? These are the questions that come up, right? And we really do have to consider, at the end of the day, guaranteed sales are guaranteed sales, and that's something which, especially now, looking at the state of the market as it is right now, Hasbro did not have the sales that they wanted this year. They were pumping out toys like crazy, and half of them showed up at not half of them, but a ton of the adult collectible versions did show up at clearance, clearance locations.
Yeah,
but let's not get it twisted, everybody. Let's not get it twisted. And I'm looking at the camera right now because of this, guys. Remember, Hasbro's a toy company. Mattel is a toy company. They make toys for kids. I keep trying to, a lot of people are going to argue with me with this, but that's the truth is it's a kids market. Say what you will about Scott Knight, he knows what he means when kids are the ones who need to buy those toys. The age group has changed, okay, and I get that. I freely admit that. Once you hit a certain plateau, once you hit a certain age, 10, maybe 8, 6, hopefully 8, probably 10. That's what they're hoping for, but it's probably going to be lower than that. As soon as you hit that age range, the kids' toys pretty much wean. It's pretty much the flat line at that point. But kids are still the main purchasers of toys. Parents are the purchasers of toys. I get it. But kids are the ones who play with the damn toys. Okay? And the market is always geared towards kids. Has the adult market given a boost to companies like Hasbro and Mattel? Absolutely. I think it was 2 years ago, the term kidult, which is just disgusting me, became a term, okay? and it was run with because, you know what, it was a fun little story. But the reality is that the adult market cannot sustain a toy industry. It can't, and that's proof positive now, right? Hasbro has a lot of thinking to do. Mattel has a lot of thinking to do, and they have to realize that they cannot use a resource like adults and not give us value for our toys without expecting a lot of pushback, right? A lot of the reasons why you see, in my opinion, a lot of the reasons why you see these toys showing up at places like Ollie's and Winners and TJ Maxx is because they were too fucking expensive. Let me show you something, Brick. And you know what? Like, while I'm bringing this up, what are your thoughts about what I just said? I mean, do you agree with the fact that I believe that toys are for kids and that the adult market, what is your take on what I just said? Because
I'll just say that I would adjust a little, and I don't know, but just based on what you said, I would say the adjustment would be I do think Mattel and Hasbro make toys for adults, but I also do believe that their primary target is absolutely kids, and it's not at all. Yeah, and I that's what I was going to say. Like, it was just based on what you said, but like I know you know that as well, and you've said that before. Like primarily the lion's share of the profits to be gained is from your, the little kids. And so, like, for example, Thanos was asking, but are kids being priced out? I mean, again,
kind of, yeah.
it's different. G.I. Joe Classifieds, just no way. Then those aren't for kids. I'm talking your preschool toys. I'm talking your preschool through like what, 3rd grade, 4th grade toys, your board games. Like that's where the cha-ching is. That's where the money is. That's where the bread and butter is. And then I think things like the adult market absolutely are lucrative. And I think they become, in many ways, I think they've just been trying to like perfect that and turn that and transform that into to be as lucrative as everything else. Because if you remember, like 20 years ago, there was no true adult collector market in the way that there is now. We grew up. We're the ones that they started with as kids, and then we kept playing with our kids, and we found the deep felt nostalgia. We became the lifelong loyal brand adults, right?
100%.
And many of us, continue to buy the toys. Some of us are now making Marvel movies, and like that's where we're at, making Star Wars movies. Those are all kids of our generation ish. So yeah, that's what I think of that. I think they're still trying to figure it out. And I will also say, as adults, we're hard to sell to.
This is true.
So I think that's why they're struggling, really. They didn't perfect it. They just maybe assumed that we'd all continue to buy and it'd be real simple. They didn't realize that we'd have the internet, and in many ways, sometimes like go after the company, right? And like in some cases. So it's a complicated thing when it comes to like toys.
We're more educated now than we used to be. We can do research. People of our age are smarter than they give us credit for,
and that's really nice. I wasn't referring to the people who I think are smart, but sure, that's. But I will also say, yeah, no, I mean that's it. I think that's what I think of that. But as far as crowdfunding, I'm, as you know, and you can tell by my buying habits, but also the things that I support, I'm excited for the small companies who want to do something, who, your AWOCs, your Cyberzoics, your Savage Crucibles, and so on. And I will say, and I've said this before elsewhere and here, that like they're the ones who are really pushing this game. It's not the Hasbros and Mattels.
Mhm.
Like in many ways, Hasbro and Mattel have to keep up when it comes to action figures. When things are coming out with crazy points of articulation, with different levels of deco, right? With even with crowdfunding, again, because that was a thing for the indies, they have to then adjust and be like, oh crap, people keep talking about double jointed elbows. People keep talking about pinless. Like there was a point in time where they could just say, nah, we're not going to do that. And then we didn't really have many options. Now we do. And I know a lot of people who are taking their action figure budgets and taking it out of a Hasbro and out of a Mattel and moving it elsewhere. So I don't know. The indies are definitely pushing the state of the art. So
absolutely. And it's reflective, as we said. The adult market is a very savvy market, and you know what? We're not gonna just lie down and buy everything that you want. And the time for experimentation is still valid, but you have to know your market. And in a lot of ways, you got to price right for the market. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
here's a clear cut indication of what can happen if you don't know your market. So, I visited, as I told you, I was at
Yep.
I was at Buffalo
Mm-hmm.
and Niagara, and I visited the TJ Maxx for the first time in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what happened when I visited TJ Maxx. Check this out, everybody. We got design brands at TJ prices. Pretty good thrift store. Let's see if they're any total. Here's a sneak peek about one of my next hunts, guys. Got some murder mysteries here. It looks like we found what I think is the toy section.
I'm impressed at how
All right. Just before I start this, I'm going to raise the volume.
seemingly organized and clean those are, because mine doesn't look like that at all.
So here we go. This is what I want to show everybody, because this is hilarious. Check
Show us the
out.
toys.
I'm gonna full screen myself just for the full
Go for
effect.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So hold on. Here we go. I know what I'm doing. No, I don't. All right. Check this out, everybody. Wheelbox. Okay, I'm guessing those are knockoff Transformers. Ooh, the animal. I remember that. When did they bring that back? Toyland Train, Sonic the Hedgehog. $8. Pretty good. Oh my god. Oh my gosh, guys. Oh, this is crazy. $12.99 for the starting lineup. These things were like $40. Oh my god. Look,
that's wild.
Jason Tatum. Are you serious? How many we got here?
Did you say the price, Jay?
$12.99. Oh my god. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh my god, this is ridiculous. And it's all just Jason Tatum.
You should be selling them in Boston.
Is there anybody else? I guess not. Okay, well, Jason Tatum is not popular. Obviously, he's a Boston player, and we're in Buffalo. Wow. Well, we're in Niagara, actually. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. There's like 50 Jason Tatums here. It's insane. Oh my god. Dude, look, guys. There's like 30. Count them, 30 Jason Tatums here. Starting lineup. Not a good start. Guys,
Yeah.
there's like 30. Count them, 30 Jason Tatums.
Did you find anything else like classified, Black Series?
No, not at that location.
Interesting.
I went to Ollie's.
Uh-huh.
And the rumors are true. It's like Hasbro City.
Sure.
Hasbro City. Like and going back nearly a decade. Like I was finding Admiral Hoddles like it was going out of style. Like she was everywhere. It was just absolutely astronomical. But this is the key. If you're gonna try and sell a $40 NFT backed action figure of an NBA superstar, know your market. Okay, like we're like nobody wants an NFT in this. What am I gonna do as a 40+ year old? Closer to 50 actually. What the hell do I need with an NFT? It's not a market I understand. I don't understand the technology. I don't understand what it's supposed to do. I don't understand the value behind it. Why are you forcing me to buy that? And the reality is that they stopped forcing you to buy it about a month later. And even then, they dropped the price as well. It's too little too late. And by that time, they were stuck with thousands, tens of thousands of these things. And now look at them. Like that was Jason Tatum. I found at one location. When I went to Ross's, I found the Greek Freak, the Mutombo or whatever his name was. Anyway, I found him, and everybody's been finding anything from LeBron. Well, LeBron James doesn't last very long. He pretty much goes because again, it's LeBron James. But people have been finding pretty much every single one of those guys. Starting lineup basically fell on his face, and now McFarlane is picking up a license for the NFL and the NHL. So again, it just keeps it's a cyclical nature. But you have to know your market at the end of the day, and you have to make things that people want, right? And that's exactly what it is with Kickstarters, right?
Yeah.
The market will choose, and that's exactly what Adam is getting.
Crowdfunds, Jay.
Crowd funds. God damn it. Crowd funds are approved. You know what? Speak with your wallet. Speak with your wallet. If you want it, buy it. Don't ever let and I maintain this. And don't ever let anybody, no one, don't ever let anybody tell you. I'm going to look at the camera again. Don't ever let anybody tell you what you should and should not buy. It's your money. You can do whatever you want with it. Speak with your wallet. If you wanted that Rancor, which I wanted it, you should have bought it. And you know what? You who did put your money down, great. It didn't make it, but great, right? If you wanted the Engine of Vengeance, bravo. It didn't make it, but you know what? I'm glad that you backed it with your wallet, right? For everybody else, you know, as Adam said, why complain? You know, if you're not into it, don't buy it. But don't try to convince others not to buy it. That's not your choice. You know, if people want to buy it, that's their money. They should be free to do that. That's it. That's what it. Speak with your wallet. That's it. You know, people don't like plastic free packaging. They didn't buy it. Guess what? We have plastic packaging again.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. Delta 17 is in the house. What's going on, Steve? Good to see you, brother. I'm going to be doing a special episode with Delta 17. I want to go through all of the action figures one by one. What an incredible lineup. Brick, definitely got to get yourself a set of these. They're incredible. Again, independent company, 100%, you know, doing the hard work, man. Like, it's not easy. It's not easy. And not kickstarted. Not crowdfunded. This was incredible. Absolutely
available in a couple weeks.
Available, you know, as soon as we can get it out there. Yeah, for 100%. We want to say hi to Ramen Toy. Jay has a lot of goodies in the store.
TJ.
Oh, we have a lot of goodies everywhere, brother. Like, good to see Ramen Toy. Guys, definitely check out Ramen Toy and everything that they're putting out, because they got the pre-orders for the Great White, as well as I think actually the what was it called? I keep wanting to say Thunderhawk. The you know what I'm talking about. The Machina. It's actually
the Gullwing.
The Gullwing. The Gullwing is actually out of stock, unfortunately, guys. But huge thanks to everybody who backed that project, and of course, the Marshall. The Marshall is coming. It's going to be absolutely great, and you still have time to get in on the Ramen Racer. And remember, guys, if they hit 2,000 backers, they will unlock, that special head. What was it called? Agent Scully. They will unlock Agent Scully. So, guys, definitely don't sleep on that one. 100%. You do want to get in on that for sure. Good to see you, Delta 17. Always great to see Steve. Let's take a really quickly. Let's just take a couple of these. I want to thank Drew and Chase once again for the $2 super sticker, my friend. You are freaking awesome. Thank you so much for that. Let's see what do we have here. Ryan Ventek. Unicron was the same time limping along. They had to extend the campaign to get it funded. Poor Cookie got the chop. People complained it was $300 plush. I couldn't even order from my country. You know, he's right. Canadians actually, were not actually encouraged to buy it. Really, it was kind of sad. I'm not sure if it was a rights issue though. It was something was going on there. But yeah, thanks, Ryan. Appreciate that. I thought it was a question. Let's see here. Okay, Requiem. Hasbro needs to go back to the thinking table with HasLab. Most tiers are either cheap repaints or should be in the regular offer. Tiers usually lower backer numbers these days. That's an interesting take. I don't know about, like, yes, you're going to get repaints. Like Silver Surfer. He's a repaint, obviously. But, Frankie Nova, no, I guess, not Frankie. Yeah, Frankie Nova. I think that was more or less a new character. Morg, he was a brand new character as far as I can tell. Yeah, a lot of, like, for your Galactus Brick, like, there were more or less new characters. Like, yeah. I didn't think there were.
I mean, Of course, you said you named Silver Surfer, but the rest of them were new.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Surfer was the only repeat.
I don't know. Like, again, if you probably want to go a little bit more current, maybe that's what Requiem's talking. Is that true for some of the more current offerings?
Well, yeah,
like
the Ghost has they're all brand new, right?
Yeah.
That's the entire Ghost crew.
Yeah.
Those are all brand new characters, right? Okay. If you want to go, let's just talk about failed HasLabs. The Engine of Vengeance was going to be all brand new.
Those are all brand new.
What's his name? Mephisto, brand new, right? I mean, he had no toes, but whatever, right? The what's it called? Madeline Pryor.
Yeah.
Supposedly.
I'm thinking about the Joes too. Yeah, same. They're all new.
They're all brand new characters. Brand new tooling. I don't see it, Requiem. I'm not exactly sure where that's coming from. Really, I'm hard pressed to think. I think maybe fine. Cat's Lair. It would have been Lion-O, right?
Oh yeah, sure.
Crystallized Lion-O. All right, and that we didn't even get there, and probably for that exact same reason. Yeah. And I totally get that one. Fine. The mothership. Yeah, they're your basic O-rings. Sorry, your basic reactions with the O-rings being an incentive, right? And that would have been brand new. Mm-hmm. But the trouble bubbles were supposed to be a brand new incentive, right? Those would have been amazing, right? So, but I do see, the reaction figures I get. Yeah, I'm hard pressed to think of any of them that are actually strict repaints.
I don't know. They probably had some specific thoughts, but
yeah, maybe. I'm racking my brain here trying to think of one though. Unicron didn't even have stretch goals. He was just straight Unicron. Yeah. I'm pretty hard pressed. Maybe it's wait. No, even Giant Man didn't even come with any action figures. Giant Man's stretch goals were his heads. So, strictly speaking, maybe that's what you're talking about, right? The fact that but the actual only head that was included was the Skrull head, which is a brand new skull. Again, I'm hard pressed to really. Figure out
I think the point's there. We're struggling to find it. Maybe again maybe they had a specific thing, but anyway,
Anyway, it's all good.
Yep.
Rick, thank you for being here, my friend. What an amazing stream! Like this has
been a while.
Yes, and I'm glad I was able to share this with you. Rick, happy New Year, my friend. Like this has been absolutely crazy.
2024.
What are you working on, and how can people reach you?
The channel. So every Sundays, I do the quote unquote Brick Something News, which can be newish stuff, but just bring in a co-host every week, and we kind of just talk about really whatever it is we want to talk about. It's a little bit of show and tell. The news actually stands for Needless Ephemera We Saw. So anyways, that's Sundays 4:30 till about 6 p.m. Pacific. And then I've been putting out those shorts and having a blast with those. I'm going to get back to the unboxings, my Unbox Something line. And I've got something else in the works that I'm not really at liberty to share at the moment, but I'm really interested in trying to find ways to get to tie the ToyTube community a little bit more closely and get the subscribers kind of like moving around other people's channels. But anyway, I'll just sort of tease that and leave it there. But that's it. And you can find me here on YouTube at Brick Something, on Instagram at brick.something, and at on TikTok. I also think brick.something. I don't know. So anyway, that's it. And it's late. I'm exhausted. I don't know how you do it, Jay. You're muted too. Still muted. Can't hear you, buddy. Yeah.
Okay, I was saying that your energy keeps me up. Like that's how I'm able to do it. But I am exhausted too. I am absolutely completely exhausted. What a riveting and wonderful topic. And it's not over. Like this discussion will continue to be needed. Even though some people say it's too late, I challenge that. I challenge anybody who says it's too late for this discussion. I don't think so. I think because crowdsourcing projects I got that right. Crowdsourcing projects will continue to be a thing. I think that the conversation still needs to be had, and it's not like we didn't have differing opinions. We did. You know what I mean? There's a lot of discussion to be had here. No matter who says that it's a useless conversation, that's not true. I don't think it is. And just so everybody knows, that is a valid argument, though. You know, is this discussion warranted? You know, some people say no, some people say yes. I still think it is very, very valid. In closing, though, I do think that no one is wrong. You know, I'll say it. In my opinion, everybody is entitled to an opinion, and that's the point. You know what I mean? If you think that these figures, these Kickstarters, these crowdsource projects, these Indiegogos, if you believe them to be worth your time, your attention, your money, you're right. Mm-hmm. If you think that they're a waste of time and that no one should even be engaging in this, you're also right. You can have that opinion. It's okay. You know, and I take that directly from our good friend Mad Hatter. It's okay to have an opinion, right? And it's okay to not agree with people. It's okay, right? But it's probably not okay. And you know what? Again, you can disagree with this, but maybe it's not okay to tell somebody to their face, no, you shouldn't be backing that. No, I don't think so. Yeah. I think that everyone, just like I said, is entitled opinion. Everyone is able to make their own decisions, and I think that we should end it there, guys. Thank you so much for tonight, Brick. Thank you so much for tonight.
Of course.
A wonderful start to 2024. I keep wanting to say 2023, but it is 2024. We'll get used to it someday, Brick. We'll get used to it someday. Let me know in the comment section below, everybody. What were your thoughts about tonight's discussion? Are Kickstarters important to billion-dollar companies? Are they experiments? Are they proof of concepts? Are they ways to ensure that they will be making that minimum quantity order and the money that they need to actually get these projects off the ground? Or should they just be left alone to the independent artists and the people who really need them to actually get their projects off the ground? Let me know that in the comment section below. Guys, thank you so much for being here tonight. Brick, thank you for being here tonight. Mas maraming salamat, pare. I really appreciate it. Always being here. Huge shout outs to Highly Articulated Adam. Thank you for being here. Definitely give Adam at Highly Articulated a like and a follow. Follow Brick Something on YouTube, guys. They are amazing creators. You guys will not regret it, especially if you are into Animal Warriors of the Kingdom and any other independent toy lines that you think you might be interested in. They are covering it right now and doing a damn good job at it. Thank you guys so much for being here. You guys are awesome. And again, I want to thank each and every one of you guys. I do have the contest coming up on January 20th. Do not miss out on that. A lot of great action figures on the table for you guys to win. I hope you guys will enjoy that too. Brick, you want to say goodnight to everybody at home?
Good night, folks. Peace, power, all that stuff. Buy toys. Toys are great. They're fun. Woo!
Absolutely. Brick always has the right thing to say at the end of the night. Guys, I hope you're all doing well, staying safe. And as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. Happy New Year, everybody. We will see you next time. Good journey. Geek proud.